Hey, what's up, guys? Thanks for pressing play on another episode of You Can't Disappoint a Podcast. Before we get started today, let's just talk about a couple of the things that we have set up for you guys.
Yeah, guys, feel free to send us your trivia, your favorite funny moment, and your MVP from next week's episode over to can'tdisappointpodcast@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you guys and have you stump us on some trivia.
For the full Zach and Steven experience, you can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram at Can't Disappoint Podcast, and Twitter at You Can't Disappoint for all of the fun shenanigans we get into off pod every week.
Wax on, wax off pod.
We're really thankful that you guys are listening to us, and I promise to keep whatever that was to a minimum. Now, I say let's kick off this week's podcast. What do you say, Steven?
Blue Skidoo Weekend 2, Zach. Let's dive in.
All right.
Oh, God. Glad we did 2 takes, Zach. You had a lot to work with there.
Reformed neo-Buddhism is not a cult. It is a new way of looking at the world, emphasizing empowerment.
Like a video game?
Yes, Troy, very much like a video game. You gain levels, and at a certain point, you actually can eat a ghost.
What? I want to eat a ghost.
And then the goat says to the antelope, "That's not a farmer. That's my sister." Oh, hey, Zach. Didn't see you there. I was
Steven,
just practicing my Type 5.
That was not where I expected that joke to go when you started it. It was way more intolerant, and I was expecting it to be pretty bad. So, hey, guys, I'm going to save you from the first half of that so you won't have to listen to it. Didn't know you could see us here. It's just me and Steven chatting. Welcome aboard. Welcome to another episode of You Can't Disappoint a Podcast. This is the 28th community episode we have covered. 28 podcasts.
That's crazy. That's fun. It's been a fun 28 weeks.
And that's just a good round number to axe it. Just cut it.
Yeah. You know, it's the amount of days in a good February.
Okay.
Sandra Bullock movie, 28 days.
Days later? She was in that?
With the vampires?
I haven't seen that. I'm not familiar with that
No,
one.
I think, okay, she was in, 28 days with that one guy.
Okay. Welcome to the show, everyone. Welcome to You Can't Disappoint a Podcast. I'm Zach, and if you want to make a sock puppet out of me, that's on you.
Hi, Zach. And as always, I'm Steven, and I don't know if you guys knew this, but I'm a 5th level laser lotus. And I really can't wait for Buddha to return and return us to our liquid state so that we can bask in the pool of knowledge together in his meteor crater.
Just like a Tylenol PM. I hope everyone's doing well. Shout out, as always, to our proud community Papa Boy over at Communities on Twitter. Thank you for all you do and for putting up with whatever it is that we do towards you.
Muchas gracias.
We've really got to do something with them soon. We got to do something. We got to either pick out an episode or have them on for something soon. Yeah. I hope everyone's December is going well. This one, we're recording it a little bit early. This isn't actually coming out for like a week after we record it. But December's in full swing. Even more so when this comes out. I hope everyone's doing well. Steven, I care less about how you've been doing if I'm being genuine, But I guess update on whatever you've been doing in the 3 days since we recorded one of these boys.
Yeah, just been chilling. Attack on Titan just started, so the hype is real for that one. My whole Twitter is just filled with people with the same icon picture tweeting "Let's go" in all caps.
Yeah. Nice. Mm-hmm. That's exciting. It's always really exciting when a show you really like comes back, and there aren't that many left, I feel like.
No, not really. I mean, it's there aren't very many shows like that. It was so big, it shut down the Crunchyroll, the streaming site. Their servers got all messed up. People couldn't watch it for a while.
Or I guess there are shows that are pretty big, but it's not big network weekly TV events like Lost or something that everybody was watching. It's streaming stuff. So
it's a whole season.
When a new season of Stranger Things comes out, it's all everybody's watching and talking about for 3 days.
And then everyone finishes it. Yeah.
Yeah, or I've heard people argue this is like, it's really cool to binge stuff, but whether or not that's like the best way to release television, because there's like, one of the best things about doing this podcast with you is like, you know, the water cooler talk after watching an episode, you know, like talking to your friends and seeing what they thought about it. When stuff comes out a whole season at a time, you go to the water cooler and you're like, oh, hey, wasn't it crazy when someone's like, oh no, I'm only on episode 3, don't say it. And you can't like talk about the stuff openly anymore.
Yeah,
which
I hate that.
Used to be such a big part of watching television. I've got a hair in front of my face that's driving me crazy that I can't find.
That's okay. I've been thinking about that lately too, because I've been watching unholy amount of anime this year over the last, I guess now, like 9 months. I'm almost to 150 completed on my list.
You're crowning. You're about to give birth to a...
I truly, right? But I've been thinking, because I've watched some weekly and some I've like binged through, and you know, some shows, like I've been thinking, like, if I watch this straight through, would I like it more? Would I like it less? But there are some shows that absolutely watching straight through, I think, was better. You know, so it's interesting. I wonder if when people make shows, they think about that at all.
Well, there's also a thing of like, I like watching shows not all in one day, but like a couple episodes at a time every day if I'm watching it. But when it comes to a show that like I watch the first season of it and it's like 10 episodes long and I watch it in like 5 days, a year or sometimes a year and a half or more, when the next season comes out, I won't remember anything about what happened in the last one. So I'll have to watch it again. And I don't know. You have that sometimes if a show's only 10 episodes and they release it every week and there's a huge gap between seasons. But I don't know.
But I feel like you have to retain a little more, right? Because
Let's have the conversation that we started off air and decide it was for on air. I've been watching the new season of a streaming show that is both really controversial and really popular and well regarded by a lot of people. Big Mouth, the animated Nick Kroll, John Mulaney program. And I know that Steven's not a fan, and I enjoy it quite a bit. And usually I feel like, especially with sense of humor, if one of us likes something, the other one probably will.
Yeah. I don't know. I watched probably the first 2 seasons of Big Mouth, and I didn't love it, but I really wanted to, because I really like Nick Kroll. I really like John Mulaney. I like a lot of the voicer actors in it. I think are really, really good. A lot
of the
funny.
voicer actors are really good and funny.
You know?
Correct.
But I don't know what it was. I don't know whether it was like...
A lot of people have the problem with how it's a show that's pretty much exclusively about sex, and it's about 13-year-olds.
They're kids. Yeah, they're really young. Or
12-year-olds.
But the problem is, like, I watch a lot of anime where the cast are a little younger and they make adult jokes. I mean, not Big Mouth adult jokes, but, like, I don't know. I think some of it was a little too, like, graphic for me sometimes.
I understand that. But I think to counter that, one, the argument that I started before we watched this, or before we started talking, is that, like, we all love South Park, and South Park's about, like, 9-year-olds.
Yeah, they're really young.
Voiced by adults that are, that are saying worse stuff, doing worse stuff, and that show makes a lot of, like, jokes that are pretty not PC and pretty, jokes that are, usually they're in on the joke that they're making, but jokes that from... aside could come off as racist and homophobic and transphobic and all that. Big Mouth, I really like it because sure, it's really uncomfortable. I think the people that are uncomfortable about Big Mouth, it's not because they are offended by it. It's because they're seeing themselves in the mirror, and it can make you. It's like stuff you don't want to laugh at because it's like stuff that you did. I don't know. I feel like that's a part of it, and I think it's a better role model of a show than any of the shows like that we were watching when we were kids, because they did a whole episode about Planned Parenthood and like all of the resources and why it's a good thing and why it's in danger, or all of the time they're introducing like trans characters, or I don't know, it's like a potty joke edgy show like South Park and Family Guy and stuff, but it has its heart in the right place. And I think if I was a kid watching some of this stuff, like Crises of Sexuality, I think I would have had a show like that would have like kind of given me some insight on it. I don't know. I think
I see that. I think
but it certainly is
a lot
inappropriate and edgy and cringy.
Yeah, I don't know if I necessarily related to this show a whole lot. I didn't. Here, you know what it was, Zach? It was when he decided to rub one out when his homie was like in the room with him, and I was like,
now I'm not saying that I relate to something
Broham.
like that, but I feel like that is a thing that people do.
I would believe that. I'd buy that, and I appreciate a lot of things about the show, but there's a lot of stuff about it that
it makes you cringe.
Yeah, I didn't love. I don't think it's bad. I wouldn't say I dislike it, but I don't love it.
Yeah, okay. But
I stopped watching after the second
That's
season.
not what this show's about. I think it's a show that brings up some interesting conversation, though, because it's just
worth watching.
A silly cartoon. But yeah, there's some stuff to unpack in it for sure.
Yeah.
And there's a insane amount of crazy talented people in it.
Yeah, it's also really funny. Like it is really funny.
Also, something about this season of that show, just to tackle really quick. So a lot of this year, the animated shows that have people of color voicing people of color just said they weren't going to do that anymore. Someone else is voicing Cleveland on Family Guy now. Someone else is voicing Carl on The Simpsons now. Missy was voiced by Jenny Slate, who is not black. And this season of Big Mouth,
voice actress.
Yeah, she does a great job. This season of Big Mouth focuses a lot on Missy's like disconnect from being black. And they've changed the voice actress to someone else who sounds a lot like how she did before. But I think it's so good that they had the opportunity to switch it, because if they had done this storyline with the original voice actor, I'm sure it would have
might have rubbed somebody the wrong way.
Like, we love BoJack Horseman, but it's very controversial that Allison Brie, who I guess there's a connection to Community, we love Allison, and she did great on BoJack Horseman, but she voices a character that's Vietnam. Is she Filipino or Vietnamese?
She's Vietnamese.
Diane, and a white woman voiced the character, and her disconnect from her background is part of that show, and it feels a little weird if you think about who's voicing it. And Allison Brie she doesn't talk about BoJack anymore, and she's made a statement that she wishes she hadn't done it because she feels bad about what she was doing. Now,
which is a shame, because I think
she
did
it for 6 years, so you know what I mean. But so it's all interesting. I don't know. I don't really have a point, I guess. I just thought it was something cool.
Yeah, which Community episode will let us talk about BoJack Horseman a lot?
I think any, really. They all have Allison in them. BoJack Horseman's great. And if you haven't watched it, it's such a good mix of really funny, silly, goofy, cartoony comedy that gets so real and deep in a way that most live-action shows don't. So you should absolutely check it out if you haven't.
There's at least one episode every season that belongs on, like, the best episodes of anything ever list.
Sure. The first season is a little rough. It takes a second to get its feet because it's got a lot of hooves in different genres, you know? But once it gets going in season 2, and especially season 3 onward, it's really going. So go check it out. But let's segue to what we're here to talk about today, which is the 3rd episode of season 2 of Community, The Psychology of Letting Go. It was directed by Anthony Russo. Joe's been directing so far this season. Anthony hadn't gotten a credit yet, and he has 13 directing credits over the entire series, which I think Joe has more. I feel like when I say Joe, he has like 20-something.
He had a lot.
It was written by Hillary Winston, who previously wrote Football, Feminism, and You, Politics of Human Sexuality, Beginner Pottery, Pascal's Triangle Revisited, and in the future of this season, she writes Celebrity Pharmacology and For a Few Paintballs More.
Yeah.
And it originally aired on October 7th, 2010.
Nice.
Let's before we talk about it, let's do trivia right away. Okay?
Trivia!
I've got 4 questions.
Okay, you go first.
A line in this episode, I'm excited for this question for you, buddy. A line in this episode is a possible reference to an anime. What line and which anime?
Oh my god, did I miss an anime reference?
Nothing?
Nothing.
It was even the line that you quoted in the beginning of this very podcast. The Ocean of Knowledge is perhaps a reference to Neon Genesis Evangelion?
Oh my god! Okay, stop right now,
because
I thought
the
that,
end
but...
of Evangelion, or however you say
Okay,
it.
so End of Evangelion is one of my top 5. Actually, it's my number 2
Apparently
favorite
not.
anime movie of all time.
Apparently not.
And I thought to myself, because at the end of the movie, basically, and I'm not even going to say spoiler alert, because without context, it means nothing anyway, everyone becomes one, and they all turn to this big fluid that covers the world that's like everyone connecting into one thing. As Lilith, like, consumes the world and the third impact happens.
Sure.
And day-to-day shit. But when they
my
said that, my
significant
first
other's
thought
name
was
is Lilith, so
yeah,
that is day-to-day shit.
Exactly.
Just being
I know you know.
absorbed.
Oh, damn it!
I don't know
so
for sure
disappointed
if
in
it was
myself.
on purpose, but there was a writing about it on the community wiki, and it's very plausible that someone on the writing staff would want to put in a joke like that, and it's something that's kind of specific. So there you go. You piece of
God
shit.
damn. Great question. Well done to you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Not well done to you. What do you got?
No. Okay. Name 2 things that were on the AOL homepage other than the oil spill.
Oh, shit. Is it the smoking turtle?
Mm-hmm.
And the Haiti earthquake? They mentioned the Haiti earthquake at one point, but
They
I don't
do
think
mention
that's
the Haiti
it.
earthquake. That's not it. That's
What's
what
the other one?
It is an ostrich raised a tiger cub.
You've watched some Letterkenny, right? Do you know the running bit on that show about the guy who perhaps an ostrich?
Yeah.
And they're always like discussing like
whether
it could have feasibly happened or not, or like what would have had to have happened for it to be possible. Like, yeah, an ostrich would take 2-3 people, maybe. Someone's got to hold him down. Someone's got to. Oh, I've heard it's a sick ostrich. They say that a lot.
It's a sick ostrich.
Okay, how many packs a day is the turtle in China making its way through?
2.
Yes.
Lovely.
Ding, ding, ding.
Ding, 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 ding. Okay. What on Jeff are shaped like little hearts?
Moles?
Yes.
That was kind of a guess, but cool.
Nice to meet you.
Gotta chalk it up and make guacamole.
I thought that was the funniest thing ever when I was a kid.
And then now I'm like, you shouldn't laugh at someone because of that.
Like it might be cancerous.
What did Jeff do to his pizza in grade school?
Oh, he used to dab it with a napkin.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever? Were you a pizza dabber?
No. Maybe I should have been.
I definitely wasn't. What's happening behind Shirley during the oil wrestling match?
Well, my joke answer is who cares? But throughout the majority of this episode, that's going on. Abed's delivering a baby.
Yeah.
My last question is, what is Pierce's idea of a slightly more hip music than what he's into to play on the road trip with Jeff and Troy?
Was it Kenny Loggins?
It sure is. Good job, buddy.
Hell yeah.
You made up for it, even though you missed the one that was literally catered for you.
Yep.
Before we hop over to email questions, I really shouldn't based on the quality of the email, but I want to call attention to an email I was sent from a friend of yours and I's, Benjamin Watson, who is a good friend of ours from high school. You've heard us talk about being in show choir. He was in show choir with us. And saying, honestly, I think good friend of yours and I is an understatement. Yeah. He's a really good friend. And he wrote in a really stupid email. What?
Vin's an anime guy.
Yeah, he is an anime guy, but that's not what this podcast is about, contrary to the belief of half of the people involved with it. But Ben writes out, Ben, who's watched 6 episodes of Community, writes in to say, if a bear shits in the woods and no one's around to see him, do you think he's bashful about his farts? So I'm going to step over that. He also says, let's start a Letterkenny podcast. Now, that's something I know about right there, bud. The reason I wanted to call out this truly dreadful email from a good friend is that our friend is a very talented musician, and I thought we could plug his music and where you can find it. He has an EP on Spotify that you can find called Where It Starts, and the artist name is Benjamin Watson, so go look him up.
Yeah, and for our Patreon Gold members, if you want a copy of my first ever song featuring Ben Watson...
You won't find it on the internet anymore.
You sure won't find it on the internet anymore, but it exists.
Honestly, I was going to play at the end of this podcast the song that plays when Pierce's mom plays herself out on the CD.
Yeah,
but I think I'll play one of Ben's songs. I'll give you guys a little clip of one that I really like. So go check out his stuff. And
he's really,
Ben,
really good.
Eventually, when you watch more Community and start listening to this podcast, please don't email us anymore. And now let's do some fan trivia questions.
Fan trivia. Bam, 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 bam. All right. The first email is from Danny. She says, "Happy Monday, Zach and Steven.
They're still alive, so that's good. Happy Monday to you, Danny. It will be Monday potentially when she listens to this. Our show does come out on Monday, doesn't it?
I think she's the first day listener. Hope y'all are doing well and are staying healthy and happy. My favorite moment in this episode was Chang running away from Duncan's force field in the cafeteria. Also, that I forgot this was the episode where Abed has a whole story in the background, so that was a fun surprise. Anyway, here are my questions. According to the AOL homepage, what animal raised the tiger cub?
I like turtles. Not turtles. It wasn't the turtle, was it?
The turtle.
Was it the ostrich?
Yeah. It was
I do like turtles.
But I appreciate your reference. Why did Shirley suggest not to use the east stairwell?
Because her pastor says it's meth season.
Yes.
But also because there might be a dead body there, potentially.
Yeah. I think that's double right. How many phases of the level 5 laser lotus were shown in Pierce's pamphlet?
5 or 6, maybe, but
yeah.
I would probably say 5.
I'd guess 5. What is the nurse that gives Jeff his results name? Oh, what is his character's name?
Nurse Jackie.
Nurse Jackie. Oh my God!
A television program starring Edie Falco, I think is her name.
Yeah, she popped. It's like Dr. House, but with a woman.
But with
she
a lady.
Pops pills too, right?
And it's on Showtime, so they can say.
Oh yeah, she's a black eye at one point,
so
right?
We can't. Yeah.
Does she get like, who punches her?
I haven't actually watched the program, but
if you want to find out who punches Edie Falco and gives her that black eye, check out Nurse Jackie, streaming now on Showtime.
I do know that frontman of the band Green Day, Billy Joe Armstrong, plays a recurring character on Nurse Jackie.
Oh, nice. Wonder if he punches her. That would track, right?
I don't know. Anyway.
Come on the show, Billy. Let's talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah, let's talk about how shitty your last album was.
Was that the one that was like, what was it called? What was their last one? Did they put one out since the really bad one? Has it been 2 straight really bad ones?
No. The one before was decent. The new terrible one was Father of All Motherfuckers.
Yeah, that was ass.
And the album cover was like the American Idiot album cover with like stuff like clip art pasted over it. Let's not talk about this anymore. Now I'm sad.
Where did Pierce say that Energon is harvested in?
I'm not sure. I can remember when he was talking about it, but I don't remember what he said. Steven's trying to he's trying to manifest it. I can see it. He's like meditating. Is it getting anywhere? No?
Oh, it's so close, but I don't think
no,
I'm
it
isn't.
It.
Hugs from Mexico, Danny. Thanks,
Great.
Danny.
Thanks for writing in, as
Thanks
always.
for writing in. Yeah. All right. Next. From Mira. Hey, guys.
Hey, we should shout out Mira also as well. She did a video review of our podcast. Someone actually listens to this.
Yeah, thank you, Mira. It was really cool seeing. And, I appreciate you sparing Zach's feelings and saying that we were both your favorites, even though we both know that it was me. But that's okay. That's okay. It's okay.
Steven, I could live with that, but apparently you couldn't.
I'm just happy to be nominated.
Okay.
But yeah, check out Mira. I think her YouTube name is Mira. Mira. I've
definitely retweeted it, but I'll do a more obvious retweet of it or tweet of it around the time this podcast comes out. So go look at our Twitter if you'd like to see that.
Wunderbar. All right. Hey guys, this is Mira. Just finished my Season 1 listen and hope you guys enjoyed my review. Looking forward to Season 2 with its absolutely fantastic episodes. This one isn't on the top of my list, but it's an interesting study into both Jeff and Pierce. And here is the trivia. When do we first see Abed with the pregnant woman in the episode?
Right in the very beginning, while Jeff is talking in the study room, right before Abed comes into the room.
Oh, I missed that one. I saw them outside.
It happens
first.
like
I missed
5
that
or
one.
6 times throughout the episode, yeah.
I bet that I missed most of them.
Okay.
Wowza.
Okay.
Wow. Listen, guys, we know I don't really watch the show. I'm doing my best.
Yeah, literally one of Steven's questions was, did you know that Abed was helping give birth in this episode? When, like, Steven, we all definitely... This is like a thing, kind of community legend, that there's an episode where Abed, it has a whole storyline. And
well, she gets pregnant at the dance, right?
Yeah, but you only know that because we talked about it. I only knew that because someone wrote that into us. Yeah. But did you know that in this episode there's also a subplot of that subplot where Abed might be the father of the baby?
I did not.
All right.
Oh wow, we got. Let's dissect. Okay.
Should we start over? Should you go actually?
How much money did Annie raise? I know this one. It's $136.
200. It was $236. And then she says, and Britta, well, let's just say, including Britta's, it's around $250.
Right, Britta?
I could be wrong. I was wrong last week with 5.5 hours, but I'm almost positive it was 200.
I might have been distracted by...
Abed having a baby in the background.
Exactly. Sorry, Mir, I went out of order. I skipped one. What is advertised on the flyer behind Jeff right before they walk into the classroom? I got no clue.
I did see it. I didn't take that close of attention to it, but my guess is it was something maybe carnival related. That's all I got.
All right, I'll go with that. What toppings did Jeff get on his ice cream? Peanut butter and hot fudge.
That sounds pretty good.
Mm-hmm,
I did notice that Pierce's ice cream had some big marshmallow pieces in it, and that's something I'm down for. Maybe some Rocky Road or Moose Tracks.
I had a chocolate frosty last night.
Okay.
It was solid. I dipped
pretty basic, but definitely reliable.
Well, I dipped my spicy chicken sandwich in it.
I am not down for stuff like that. I have a real disconnect with like sweet and salty stuff. I like chocolate covered pretzel kind of things, but I don't really like the mix of most sweet and salty things.
Have I talked about chips and cereal to you before?
I don't know if that's the gross thing that you said on the podcast or if it was something else, but it might have been.
Yeah, chips dry of course, no milk, but unless it's to the side. But like chips and cereal in a bowl, mix it up. Just pick any two, really.
Oh my god. Like any cereal and any chips?
Damn near it.
We've been eating a lot of Oreo O's lately. I enjoy Oreo O's.
Ooh, do some like Oreo O's and like some sour cream and onion, bro.
I'm never gonna do that. There's not a chance in hell I'm ever doing that. Let's move on. Do we have more questions? Can we stop this, please?
We do. What are Jeff's moles shaped like?
Hearts.
Little hearts. Who is in the foreground when Abed is delivering a baby in the background? That would be Miss Shirley.
Mm-hmm.
Her honorable mention MVP for this episode is Pierce's mom. Her CD is the turning point of this episode. Mm-hmm. One of the funniest moments is the deranged look on Duncan's face when he is using his force field to chase Chang out of the lunchroom.
God, I love when John Oliver's in this show. I love when John Oliver's in this show so much.
Yeah. Really, really, really good stuff from him. Have a great week, guys, from Mira.
Whenever John Oliver is in an episode of this show, you know that there's going to be something really ridiculous to laugh at. Like, even like in Pascal's Triangle, which wasn't the favorite episode.
Yeah.
You knew that like most of the funny stuff in that one was John Oliver. Mm-hmm. Do we have more? Do we have another one?
We have one more. This one is from Communities. Hi, Steven. Looking forward to it, guys.
What? Excuse me? Start that from the top again, please. I just want to make sure. I just want to hear something. I want to make sure something.
Hi, Steven. Looking forward to it, guys. Did you do something to make Dad mad?
Man.
Is Daddy mad at Zach? Was Zach a bad boy?
That's probably the hardest laugh I've had in the 6 months we've done this podcast. And I just want to say that I'm fine. I'm fine.
What the hell?
I'm not that worried about it.
That's getting up there, I guess, sometimes.
Maybe it's because you read the trivia.
I guess. Okay, that makes sense. Looking forward to it, guys.
I hope.
Let me start from the top again, actually.
You just want to hear it one more time yourself? Okay, let's do it.
Hi, Steven. Looking forward to it, guys. I do
Okay.
want to point out again that the woman that Jeff is flirting with in the nurse's office is Allison Brie Standen, and she clearly does not like Nurse Jackie. The show? I wonder... Wonder
Not
why.
a Green Day fan, I guess.
Yeah. What does Nurse Jackie say that Jeff has that's infectious?
I don't know.
Charisma. Or
Oh.
Charm.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
The student that comes late to the class asks if it's a specific class, and Duncan lies to keep her in there. What is that class?
I know it. Do you know it?
I do.
Go
Okay,
ahead.
we'll say it on 3.
Because he's not asking me, so who cares if I know it, right?
I'll just take this one, okay?
Yeah, you know what? I'm just gonna sit back. This
Sit back and
episode,
relax.
I'm gonna go deliver a baby in the background while Steven podcasts about this episode of Community.
All right, guys, let's get weird. The answer to that one, Papa Smurf, is anesthesiology. We see our duo raising money 3 times. Which time raises the most money? That was the last time when they were wrestling. Next we got, I thought it would take it easy on the last one. Thank you. This episode gets a lot of grief because it has the girls competing, and then it fails the Bechdel test. Bechdel test? A scene with 2 women where they don't talk about men. Ooh. And we often talk about how we don't think Annie is telling the truth about her and Jeff in a moment where she probably could have. All said, it's a fun episode with a really good lesson from Pierce's mom. Answers below, Matt from Communities. We got them all right. Okay, thank you guys. That's it for emails. I'm going to bring Zach back in now. Zach, are you here with us?
I don't think it's what the people want, Steven.
It's just our dad. Listen, it's
Yeah, I
only
guess it's okay.
fair, you know. We each get one dad that wants
it's
us.
still a better relationship than I have with my actual father. Okay. Are we done? Is that done?
Yeah.
I think it's time for a favorite segment of the week for Steven to all of a sudden remember that he has to relay the events of this episode back to us in a timely manner. Steven, are you prepared for this task?
I'm ready.
You got 20 seconds. I'll count you down, and on go.
Okay.
3, 2, 1, go.
Pierce's mom is dead. Wait, no, she's not. Pierce's mom's not dead. She's surely alive, and she's roaring on the inside, something like a lion. But Troy's really traumatized. But also, Annie and Britta are trying to save the Pelicans. People don't really care, but because they're on the right side. But then Pierce is like, "Oh, my mom's not dead," and Jeff's like, "Yeah, she is." And he's like, "Oh," and then he's gonna take him to the morgue, but he decides not to because CD.
Oh, you ran a little long.
I did.
I think you
Please
did-
strike
you-
CD from the record.
You did, you did pretty well that time. I think you were missing that Pierce's mom is dead. It's not that she's not dead. You didn't mention the cult at all. You didn't mention, like, you could have gotten Duncan and Chang in there maybe somewhere. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna give that one a C.
That's a very fair grade.
Because
Thank
you did get you got both of the A and B plots, but you missed some pretty big stuff. Before we get started talking about our thoughts on the episode, what was your favorite funny moment?
Okay, the time that I laughed the hardest was when Annie and Britta are like arguing with each other, and it's when they kind of say the line that you know upsets Britta about her curling her hair, and Shirley goes, "You're not so different after all, skinny bitches." And
Yeah.
I laughed so hard.
That's a really good one. I like this episode a lot. I feel like there's a chance we disagree on this.
No, I was mostly messing with you.
Okay.
I liked it more each time. I'll say that.
Right after watching the episode, I spoke really positively of it in a text message to Steven, and he was like, you. So I didn't think he liked it that much. We'll get to that in a second. So I wasn't really thinking about the favorite funny moment one because I think this is full of a lot of really good jokes. So I'm going to go either with the moment and the turn from Troy crying about Pierce's mom being dead to Pierce walking in like he's on top of the world.
Pretty amazing.
Or the moment of which leads to something. I like that. Or there's a lot to choose from because that's not even maybe my favorite Duncan moment. So I have to give it to just go with this.
Like
there's
I said,
a lot
this
of
is really not my
bits in
forte.
this one. Yeah. And so I kind of spoiled it, but I really enjoyed this episode a lot. And I remember enjoying this one a lot from when I watched Community through the first couple times.
Yeah.
And then I don't read the trivia questions when we get emailed them, but I do sometimes read people's beginning blurb. And I started seeing a couple people being like, this one's not exactly my favorite. And so I was kind of expecting not to love it. And then I did. I think just about everything in this episode works for me. Even the subplot that I thought might not work for me, and maybe it shouldn't work for me, I think I have some valid reasons why it did work for me.
Yeah.
I liked it. 2 thumbs up. I'll give this episode 2 wholehearted thumbs up.
I would give this episode a 1.5. I think that even before... I don't know. Jeff said one thing in this one that really rubbed me the wrong way.
Okay.
And upon like further watches, he wasn't as bad as I thought he was in the first watch of it through.
Okay.
But I never liked Jeff the first watch of any episode. I don't know. I love Joel McHale, but I just can't stand Jeff most of the time. I don't know what it is.
I thought there was a moment towards the beginning of this episode where I thought Jeff was pretty well written in this episode to where he kind of was getting to say like the Joe Cool lines off in the background, like, I don't know, talking wise in the corner while everyone else is doing their thing.
Yeah.
And being like the cool guy, but also kind of being like harmless. I don't know. I thought they did pretty well, but I don't know. We'll see.
We'll see, yeah. But I like the episode overall.
Sure.
I really think the Britta and Annie stuff did work for me. I think that it, was real enough that it wasn't just, oh, let's put these 2 girls. And I think that the fact that Shirley was very vocal about like being left out of it was funny.
And when it builds to something completely ridiculous and totally they knew what they were doing when they did it, I feel like they built to it in about the best way they possibly could have.
Yeah.
And then when it happened, I was like, well,
we're here.
Kicks feet back.
Yeah. I also really appreciate in this episode how this kind of, and we'll talk about it more later, my thoughts on it, but how Troy is kind of experiencing all of this and why he kind of does some things that he does in this episode, I kind of thought were really
Troy has a really good episode.
Yeah. So big fan.
I think this episode thematically is kind of like a sister episode to comparative religion a little bit.
Absolutely.
And they even make a slight reference to it in the episode.
They do.
And that's one of my favorite season 1 episodes. And to see that same topic of religion handled in just as thoughtful, critical, and ridiculous of a way again, and that they still did it well and differently, does a lot for me. I think let's dig into it.
Yeah.
The episode starts off right away with the Britta and Annie storyline that they've built this really unrealistic diorama. That's a super, like, no one who doesn't have a TV prop department at their behest is going to be making any of this. Shirley calls out immediately, you're right. Oh, just the 2 of you? As they're working on this thing. They're making a display, not for class even or anything. They're literally just doing this because they want to raise money for the oil spill. Obviously, I remember, we're pretty young, but I remember when the oil spill was such a huge deal and kind of being like, I don't get it, but okay, apparently we're mad about this. And I feel like, it's like still there, isn't it? Isn't it like still?
I think they're still cleaning that up.
I think it's still like bad.
Yeah.
And this is like 10 years, almost 11 years ago.
Well, and like they happen like pretty regularly, just not BP.
How does that happen?
Hey, whoops,
oopsie.
Oh, chili's what I do best. Well, we dropped all our oil.
Oh yeah. I don't know. So they're trying to raise money for this. It mimics the storyline from season 1 with the Guatemalan murders. they're making this display to show how serious of a problem it is, and the to scale replica of like 1 drop of oil represents 10,000 gallons of oil. You're laughing at it. I think it's kind of cool. Like if I was in school and I saw someone make that display, I'd be like, wow.
Well, I think the display is great, but I don't think that 10,000 gallons of oil is equivalent to the drop she puts in.
I think that's how much got, like, if you take the size of that water that they have and relate it to the size of the ocean, that 1 drop might be 10,000 gallons of oil.
No, I don't think the drop is near big enough for that, is what I'm saying, even with that scale.
Well, I think what they're saying is that, like,
I get what they're saying, Zach. I'm just saying they're wrong.
More than 10. I don't think they're saying there's only 10,000 gallons.
I'm saying they're saying 1 drop from that dropper is to scale 10,000 gallons of
really
oil.
Sorry.
And I'm saying it is not.
I'm really sorry. I don't like this. Let's be friends again, okay?
Okay, we'll never talk about oil again.
It's only fun when I'm mean to you, okay?
See, friends, this is why we don't talk about fracking anymore.
I think we should. I think we should. Or why you and I specifically, because it gets too heated.
Yeah.
Which one? Okay. And it's literally like the line in this episode when they're like, come on, guys, literally no one is on the opposite side of this problem. Okay, so we're a good 14 seconds into the episode of Community. They put the oil in the water, and it's a really satisfying shot of the oil spreading in the water underneath it. Yes. You know, Russo brothers got his hands on that. That's why it looks so good.
It did look really nice. It made me think, you know those, like, I Spy books? I love looking at I Spy books. I don't care if I'm even trying to spy them, but I love, like, the way they just, like, set shit up, and that, like, reminded me of that.
Interesting. I wasn't so much an I Spy kid as I liked the Magic Eye books where you have to, like, go cross-eyed for too long of a period of time to see out of the gibberish image what the picture is.
Is that a BoJack Horseman reference?
No.
I'm tired of squinting.
Shirley says, yay to having fun in pairs. And I feel like that's what it's like when people come on our podcast and, like, we're doing our thing.
And they're like,
Nothing but love to Dom and Andre, but I thought it was really funny when we recorded our season 1 special with them that when we brought them into the Skype call, Steven and I were kind of doing like a, not like quite a rap, but like a jam. We were collaborating a song about friends as we added them, and they came in like, have we started already? And we're like, no, this is just us. This is just what we do.
We're just goofing.
Jeff walks in and says, what's up, party people? It was a lot of this scene where Jeff was saying cool guy stuff that kind of worked for me while he was kind of harmless. He's got a Band-Aid on his arm. They make some funny jokes about it. Jeff announces that he waxes to the group, which makes a lot of sense.
It does.
And it immediately kicks off this storyline of Jeff having a bit of a health crisis this episode. He's just had blood work done, and he's awaiting test results. Everyone's kind of like, oh, man, are you okay? And not really in a way that's like, oh, no, but just like being thoughtful to a friend, except for Shirley, who takes it as a dark omen, when she's like, things were going too well for you. And I don't know that it has been going that well for him. I thought she was
saying that he was like sleeping with people and he was getting tested for STDs.
Oh, I didn't catch that, but that very well could be what she's
That's
thinking.
What I thought he was saying, but she also likes to be ominous like that, so it could have been either way.
And Jeff's in this shot, you'll see he's talking about how it was just a physical, even a Ferrari needs
I
a
do
tune-up.
like that line.
And in the background, we're already seeing the beginning of Abed's episode-long story. I'll have to really walk Steven through this part because he didn't see it. And this is one of the first and most classic examples of how deeply layered of a show Community can be. Because I was trying to watch this episode, and I was like, oh, this is when the Abed stuff starts, so I was watching that, and then I didn't know what Jeff said. Yeah. Or likewise, I'm sure Steven was focusing on what's on the foreground, and you're paying attention to what Jeff said, so you don't even notice that that's going on in the background. I'm sure a ton of casual watchers don't notice that at all, or like Steven may just have noticed that when the baby's literally being delivered. It's really thoughtful and really, I don't know. It's really creative and it's really cool. And I'm sure it was fun for Danny to have this type of thing to do this episode, to put that together in the background. I think it's really cool. It's some Arrested Development stuff too. They do some layered comedy like that. I like how Jeff asks if they're moonshiners now because of the diorama. It's not exactly what it looks like, but Jeff's just like, I'm funny. I can make jokes.
Right.
They're raising money for the oil spill. Annie is glad that the Haiti earthquake, I don't know, she was glad that the oil spill happened because the Haiti earthquake was too hard to come up with a way to help. I feel like you could send them both money.
You know, right? But she can't make a diorama for the Haiti earthquake. That's not as cute.
Yeah, Jeff makes his jokes about the AOL homepage, which I bet even in 2020, Jeff Winger would still have the AOL website as his homepage.
Well, now he would have the Yahoo as his homepage.
I think mine might be.
Yahoo? Oh,
I'm opening my web browser. It's whatever my web browser had it set as. I think it. No, I use Microsoft Edge. So it's like...
Do you really?
Yes, I do. So my homepage is like the Microsoft... It's like worse than Yahoo. It's like the Microsoft little news thing.
That's awful.
I'm sorry.
Get Google Chrome.
When I use Google Chrome, it keeps getting pop-ups from the shady websites I visit. Microsoft
Edge not do that?
It hasn't done it, and Google does.
Will my VPN work through Microsoft Edge?
Your VPN works just on your device.
Oh.
Well, if you do you have Express VPN?
I do.
This episode brought to you by ExpressVPN.
Do you want to watch Harry Potter, but you're in the United States? Well, just switch over to good old UK Netflix and watch you some Harry Potter. Do you want to watch the Ghibli movies? Well, hop over to Australia, mate, and watch the Ghibli movies on the Australian Netflix.
I'm really trying to get one of my favorite podcasters who is Australian to come be on our podcast, so I really hope he doesn't listen to this one. Yeah, ExpressVPN. Don't want Uncle Sam to know you're downloading the newest episodes of Nurse Jackie because you're too poor for Showtime? ExpressVPN's got your back. Somehow it's legal.
ExpressVPN. Are you tired of all those pop-ups on the American version of your anime site? Well, switch over to the Japan version.
You know that people that are listening to our podcast can't see you do air quotes.
Well, yeah. Okay, that's why you gotta subscribe to the smash that like button.
Troy walks into the study room. Abed follows him, and you can see the pregnant woman start to walk away. It's funny that Troy shows up, so Abed's like, okay, I gotta do something else now. Apparently what's happening in this scene is the woman telling Abed that he might be the father of the baby. And on the audio commentary, Donald made a lot of funny jokes, and he's like, I love it how this just means that Abed, like, what Donald said. And he's like, you know what, Troy probably doesn't at all, and he probably thinks that Abed just doesn't do anything when the two of them are together because Troy doesn't do anything when the two of them aren't together, but Abed's out there getting dick down.
Yeah.
I really respect it. Abed's got game.
Yeah, he does. Abed has the most game in the group.
So Troy walks in, and something horrible has happened. He walked in on Pierce's mom's dead body, and he's really shaken by it. I think Donald Glover does do a really good job of reacting to this in a way that's believable, is in tune with Troy's character, and is still funny somehow, the way that he does it.
Totally.
He tells that he went to do laundry and found Pierce's mom dead, and talks a lot about, like, oh, you know, she was sick and she died like a cat is what he says, but says a bunch of stuff like, you know, I've never been close to a dead body and she looked so cold, and I feel like, I don't know, I've never had to do something like that, and I bet it's traumatizing.
Yeah, totally. It's he does a good job for sure. And and like you said, it's still funny. And then, you know, after all the stuff about her being cold and gray, he's like, I saw her underwear.
Yeah. Well, that's traumatizing. Not only did you just run into this dead body, you're also seeing her naked, kind of, and she's no. All of the girls come to confront him, which is really nice. They all totally feel what he's feeling. And then Pierce comes in, and he is whistling through his teeth, and he points at Jeff. He's just walking in, just a beautiful day. I feel like now, I knew there was going to be a time where it comes, and here and now, I have an episode where I can heap praise on Chevy Chase.
Yeah.
Chevy is great in this episode, and I'm sure Chevy the man read some of the things in the script and didn't get it at all, some of the cult stuff, but he delivers it really, really well. I don't know how hard it would have been to get this type of performance out of him. I don't know what it was like on set for everybody, but as far as what's presented on screen, I think Pierce and Chevy are just in about the finest form they've been yet in this episode.
For sure.
So he walks in, and obviously he's not fazed at all by the fact that his mother is apparently dead. And I love the switch in the room. Honestly, I think a lot of the cast is really on their A game for a low-key episode this week. I think all of the girls do a really great job.
Yeah, for sure.
The way that they're all reacting to how Pierce isn't reacting. And Pierce literally says, "Geez, who died?" And of course, like, the girl, Britta says, "I'm so sorry for your loss," or whatever, and it doesn't faze them that Pierce actually thinks his mom isn't dead.
Yeah.
That's just like something Pierce would say, that he just doesn't care about stuff.
Exactly.
But Pierce is legitimately, like, shocked when they mention it, that she's dead. It's like, why? And they're trying to be so genuine and helpful, but Pierce insists that his mom isn't dead. And Pierce, I love the lines here where he's like, "Well, her heart, lungs, kidneys, and brain have stopped working." And everyone's like, "Yeah," and that means she used up her organic body by dying
in it.
Wrong. She's alive. Chevy really delivers a lot of these lines well, and there are a couple of lines throughout the episode that I think he says that it's always nice when a comedic line is delivered in a way that's different from just how it reads on the page, where they put like a weird inflection on it or a weird rhythm to it that's just choice that makes it even funnier sometimes. There are a couple of them in this.
Yeah, for sure. I think like he's so good at doing like weird stuff anyway that this one I feel like all his weird choices were the right ones.
Yes. And I don't think it's weird choices. I think he's just weird. But exactly, it was the right ones. It works really well. He starts talking about his cult, his religion, his, what's it called? It's like Buddhist.
Something.
It's like.
He says it later on, I think.
It talks about the process of what happens when someone dies in their religion. Their body is vaporized in the temple of renewal. That was the question that we didn't get right. Where is the body vaporized? Or I didn't get right. Is that one of your questions?
No, it was a fan question.
It's vaporized in the temple of renewal and stored in an energon pod. And in a few years, when their technology advances, which I'm sure they've been saying for however long this religion has been in existence, they'll extract all her body vapors, and she'll be right back. She'll be a solid. She'll be back in the kitchen making Troy and me sandwiches, which, endearingly, it just makes Troy cry thinking about Pierce's mom making them sandwiches. Oh. And Pierce is like, "What the hell? I just said it. I just explained it."
He's like, "Well," he's like, "Why are you sad? She's fine."
Yeah, she's fine.
Yeah, and Pierce delivers all these lines like so, like he believes this, full-heartedly.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and Pierce is someone who, I don't know, he's such a weird guy that I think a lot of times he says stuff just to say stuff.
Yeah.
But this one is real. He believes this, and this episode will go on to do such a good job of taking this ridiculous thing serious to the point of, like, you understand why Pierce is using this as a coping mechanism for a lot of things in life. So we'll get into it. Shirley says, "Pumpkin, it's okay," to Troy, and Britta kind of gives Jeff a look like, "Can you fix that?" And Jeff has a total vibe of, "I'm not touching this." Which I don't blame him. That's messy as hell.
Yeah, I wouldn't get involved.
Of course that won't last, but yeah. And he just talks about the turtle in China. 2 packs a day. And 3 for 3, we get a full theme song.
Woo-hoo.
I would be remiss not to mention that the great Chevy Chase was on the audio commentary for this episode. And when the theme song sequence came up, he was like, "I wish you'd change this." And everyone was like, what? You don't like the theme song sequence? He was like, no. And they were like, why? And he got quiet for a second, and he was like, I don't know. It's on paper.
Now Saturday Night Live, that's an opening sequence.
Yeah. It was me walking the streets of New York. And then the writer of the episode, Hillary Winston, was also on the commentary, and she said something like, well, didn't you ever use like a cootie catcher before, like in school? And Chevy, the real human being, was like, no. He was like, I thought cooties were just what I pulled out of my butt. That's literally what he said.
What the
I just like how he just has to be a contrarian and is like, oh, I don't like the theme song. Like, I don't know. It's on paper. I don't know. It's cool.
know. It's on
It's
paper.
rad, Chevy. Get over it. After the theme song, Jeff is contemplating life at the water fountain as everyone crowds around him. And I really like his line about them being like feeding cats.
Yeah.
The entire study group circles around him, and he's like, if you guys let me get to the can opener, I can feed you. That is what it's like sometimes,
Yeah.
even with just one cat. I'm like, get out of the way. I'm literally
It's like,
trying to
move.
get you food or water or something, what you're begging me for, and you're a wall. Everyone has an agenda. They all want to take care of Pierce's thing. He's going crazy. This is another thing, this walk and talk here where I thought Jeff was pretty good.
Yeah.
Where he's just looking at his phone. Abed points out that Pierce hasn't cried yet, which he's been told isn't normal. And Jeff really, he's just kind of like looking at his phone, not really taking any of what they're saying seriously, not wanting to get involved. Shirley has a line about Baptists being her explanation for normal. I mean, it's not the Westboro Lutheran Church.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about Lutherans. I don't know if they're crazy. I don't know. Everyone's crazy.
I like Martin Luther the person. Thought he was pretty good.
Martin Luther or Martin Luther?
No, Martin Luther, the guy he's named after.
Like the 1800 or?
Yeah, that dude. I think he had some pretty good ideals for the most part.
I can't speak to this. Is he the one that nailed stuff to the church door?
Maybe.
Okay.
I like the movie.
Shirley's like, well, even weird people have a service for the departed, and mentions together Eskimos, witch doctors, and Jewish people.
Shirley.
Annie's quip of like, cool, we made it to the list, and Shirley's like, yeah, you're welcome.
Which just
I think that
continues
was
like
a nice
the
little
bite
moment.
between Annie and Shirley constantly.
Yeah. And even Britta is like, it's important that Pierce comes to terms with this, and she says something backwards about religion, that like it's something that mankind uses to cope with the inevitable or something like
They're
that.
like mankind made
and
up.
Yeah, made up to cope with the inevitable. And Shirley's like, excuse me, you want to rephrase that? And she says, oh, I'm sorry, humankind.
Which really kind of harkens back to the Christmas episode from before, where they're all kind of just
the quip of like, man, the show like really takes seriously at this point what all of their characters actually believe.
Yeah.
And their convictions, and how that can lead to well-intentioned discourse that becomes kind of snarky because my belief, hypothetical, doesn't match up with yours, and we can talk about that, but we're going to reach a gap, and we're going to reach a point where like I say something that you're like, well, no, that's not how it is. And I'm like, well, yeah, it is.
Yeah, it is.
And I like that this show does that. You don't see that so often. Shows are so like a-religious, or like the characters just don't talk about it, or the thing where like the family goes to church, where like church is a setting on the show, but that's all. I don't know. I like that the show dives a little bit deeper into that.
Yeah.
This is where Jeff mentions, well, did we learn nothing from last Christmas? That we all learned to respect each other. And Jeff thoughtfully says, like, I don't see a difference between Pierce's religion and everyone else's. Of course it is different because it's crazy. But Jeff's heart is kind of in the right place.
Yeah.
But it's mostly because, as always, he's focused on himself.
Yeah, that's the thing, is like, it'd be great if like what he were saying were super genuine, but he just wants them to leave him alone so he can do his thing.
Yeah, he says, yeah, you guys are hard on me for not caring about religion, but at least I'm cool enough to let you guys believe what you believe. But I do really like how this interaction ends with, after giving the speech to the people and shutting them down a little bit, he just pulls up his phone, hello, and walks away. his phone that doesn't ring that he's been typing on this whole time. And then Troy saying he ends so many of his speeches that way. I don't know if that was he ends so many of his speeches that way with "Can't you just be cool like me?" or if he ends them with "hello" as he walks away.
Either way, I like it.
Or both, probably.
And believe
both.
it, yeah, probably both.
Now we're into such a blessing of this episode is all the time that we get to spend in the anthropology classroom. I say that we're 2 for 2 for really good Chang stuff in an episode. He's
think so.
in even less of the episode this time, but when I think of like the type of student Chang stuff that I really, really like, this episode is like the first thing that comes to my mind.
It's so good.
But everyone comes into the class. Shirley is trying to be nice and says, "Hey, Pierce, how's your mom?" And Pierce is terrific. She's being vaporized right this moment. There are a lot of good lines in this scene, too, about the religious side of things. Like how being vaporized it feels like the second when the fudge on your sundae is still hot, or breaking in a boob job for the first time.
Oh. I like
free from the
Troy's
burden of
line.
your earthly body, which sounds nice.
Yeah, I like
Troy
Troy's
says
line.
it
He's
is a
like,
burden.
"Oh, it is a burden."
Professor Duncan walks into the classroom, and like I said earlier, I'm so thankful whenever John Oliver is in an episode of this show. John Oliver, in another world, if he could have been in every episode character on this show, I'm sure the show would have been all the better for it, for a show that's already great, you know?
Yeah.
He's just so funny, and I've heard that he's one of those actors, comedians on set that he won't do anything the same way twice. Mm-hmm. So you get something a little bit different every time he does it. And I feel like that shows that he's trying something new every time you see him doing something. And I really respect that. And it creates a lot of unexpected laughs, I think. And I'm sure it was hard to work with on set because it just makes you laugh all the time.
Yeah. And I love how I think he just does such a great job with all the characters, like fitting in with them and really seamlessly kind of working through them. And his relationship with Chang is a big part of that.
Yeah, way more than Chang ever did as a teacher. Like, you know, we have a scene later where Duncan and Jeff talk over lunch. He really does immerse himself well with the characters. Or, like, he's kind of being creepy to the women. I don't know.
Yeah.
You kind of forget that he's, like, in charge of them and that he's a professor because he's so bad.
Yeah.
There's a nice little bit of continuity where we talk about Professor Bauer again, that because she tried to strangle Jeff, and Jeff's like, yep, that she has been put on administrative leave with pay. She's not working, but she's still getting paid. I feel like that's pretty common of colleges for a professor to need to be removed, but to still be fully compensated.
Yep. Sounds about right.
So he turns around to start his lesson and says, "So, what is anthropology?" Because I do not know. Does anybody know? Can anyone tell me? And of course it's Annie. You and the boobs. That's a line that doesn't age well, but I remember it being a pretty classic line. Because Annie even she
covers
pulls
up
her
with her,
sweater more over, but still excitedly answers the question that's been posed. And he's like, "Wow, I thought psychology was hard." And now we get the introduction of Chang for the episode, which I'm so thankful for his bit in this. He swings open the doors, and we're getting a pickup of the rivalry that really blossomed between the two of Chang and Duncan in the season 1 finale.
Yeah.
Duncan is I think it ended with Chang beating Duncan up, yeah?
Mm-hmm. He hit that roll of quarters or...
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And Chang, he strolls in like he's in a Western, as the doors to the saloon open for him. And he heard that Duncan was teaching anthropology, so he got himself into the class. He calls Duncan drunk. Duncan says he's not, but he did say he slept on the sidewalk last night.
No, he says that later. Here he says
does
that
he
he's
say
not
it later?
drunk, but he blew beneath the legal limit just this morning, so he can prove he's not.
That's reassuring. Duncan makes a big deal in front of the class to everyone and says, "I want you all to know that this guy," what does he say, "attacked me or assaulted me last year, and he has a restraining order." And I love the way that this sequence is shot, where Chang pulls out the tape measurer and says 25 feet and makes a big show out of how he can be in the classroom and the amount of space he needs to be away from Duncan, which just, like, Duncan looks like a deer in headlights responding to it. I love the Chang calls for Abed. He's like, Abed? Like, so not making a deal of it. Like, he and Abed planned this before. They discussed this before, where it's like a choreography thing, you know? Like, Chang's like, Abed. And I was like, yep. And he just runs up.
Boom.
And pulls the tape measure to see that it is, in fact, more than 25 feet. Chang doesn't even say anything. He just has this look on his face. I think Ken is doing comedic wonders in these couple of episodes. He's delivering his lines, and he's selling his facial expressions, I think, way more than he did in season 1.
Yeah, I think so, too. He really is. He is the character now, you know, as opposed to, like, he's doing the teaching stuff and acting.
In season 1, Chang is great, but in season 1, it's kind of like The Hangover's Ken Jeong in Community. And I know that in the beginning of Community, we talked about it in the very early days of the podcast, that Ken improvised a lot, and I think they were kind of annoyed with it sometimes, like how apparently there's a 16-minute take of the scene in the second episode where he's like introducing himself to the class, where he's just always like going. And now I think he's more game. Yeah. You know, I think he's more in it for whatever, for the greater good. And they don't give him a ton, so I think he really makes a meal out of whatever they give him every episode.
Absolutely.
He blows off the tape recorder like a gun, and then he says, "Proceed, Dr. Teeth." Was that a Muppets reference? Is Dr. Teeth, is that his name? The band leader of the Electric Mayhem? Is it Dr. Teeth? Because his name is something Teeth. I think it might be Dr. Teeth.
It might be Dr. Teeth, actually.
If I Google it's Dr. Teeth in the Electric Mayhem.
Nice.
I like some Muppets. I like some Muppet connection.
Big fan.
Duncan is defeated, and we cut now outside where Britta and Annie have set up their diorama for everyone to see, and they're beginning their fundraiser, trying to raise money for this case. And Britta's yelling facts about it, not really getting anywhere. Meanwhile, Annie has someone that she's talking to very closely, getting information from them, trying to get money out of them. And we see red-haired student King Eric Wisniewski giving a really classic line when he responds to Britta with, "You don't have to yell at us. Literally no one's on the other side of this." I think that's a really funny line. And it's become a bit of a meme in the Community fandom where people are arguing over the same thing, and that's...
Yeah.
Nobody is
disagreeing.
So Britta is immediately feeling like she's not doing enough, that she's not getting the attention out of people that she should be, and Annie's having no problem doing that. And Britta notices that she's certainly not intentionally, but her girly, semi-flirty, high schoolish nature with people is attracting people to want to come throw a couple bucks so they can hang out with a pretty girl for a couple minutes.
Absolutely. Now, also during the scene, this is the first one that I did notice with Abed in the back with the pregnant woman. And
yes, what's happening here is Abed is getting in a repercussion with the pregnant woman's boyfriend. Watch this.
Yeah. Because the guy,
and then Abed runs away.
Yeah, he knocked Abed's stuff out of his hand.
He's heard that maybe Abed is the father of this child, and they're having a repercussion. We'll update that later in the cafeteria. And now we see a little bit more of Annie being flirty. She's giggling. She totally is pushing out her chest just a little bit. And the guy is saying, "I'm going to give you another 20. Apparently, this is one of the Derek comedy guys as well.
Oh, wow.
I really like that on the commentary when Donald's there, whenever one of the Derek comedy people shows up, he always points it out and hypes them up, which I think is cool. So the guy gives her a little bit more money, and Annie says thank you very bouncily. And, you know, I think this episode is full of so many memorable bits that feel like little gifts that didn't exactly have to be in this episode, like this scene we're about to get with Patton Oswalt as Nurse Jackie. Jeff is showing up to get his results, I believe, from the blood work that he's done, and he literally says, "I'm here for my test results if you haven't framed them yet," which is a very Jeff Winger line.
Yeah.
He says, "Hey, gorgeous." to who is Annie's body double, as our Papa Bear let us know earlier in the podcast.
Mm-hmm. Now,
Patton doesn't get a lot in this episode, but he's very, very funny.
He's so great. I was actually just talking earlier to, Justin, a friend of ours, and he was saying that, Patton Oswalt, and he was also comparing him to Sean Astin. He said that no matter what they're in, they're always like a bright spot, and I totally agree. He's like, I always enjoy him.
You should hop back on the AP Bio train.
I was just about to say I need to watch more AP Bio.
I feel like you watched half or most of the first season.
Yeah, I think most of the first
some
season
of it together.
Mm-hmm.
And the first season of the show, I enjoyed it, but with how many people that I really liked were in it, I think I was a little bit underwhelmed just because it wasn't the funniest thing I had ever seen. And now it's been on for 3 seasons, and the more it's on, the more that I truly love that show, and that it like genuinely fills a bit of the gap that's left behind from Community in a different way. It's a super anarchic show that's really funny, and it has a great job of like balancing that Glenn Howerton's character isn't going to learn any lessons and isn't going to become like a warm, softy teacher guy, and they keep that, but they also kind of twist him a little bit in a way that doesn't feel cheesy or forced at all.
Okay, I like that.
And the kids in it are super funny. Patton, of course, is very funny in it. His character just gets better as it goes on. I love that show.
He was maybe, even my favorite part from the beginning when I was watching. And I love Glenn Howerton, so...
Half of Communities are Community Papas. Matt from Communities and Alex from 6 Seasons in a Podcast host the AP Bio Rewatch podcast together, which I recorded an episode of with them that hasn't been released yet, but definitely go listen to what they have out and check it out. So yeah, now we're here. Patton's in the like, it's a really nice nurse setup for Greendale.
Yeah, it is. Got a lot of Pepto-Bismol.
Nicer than expected. Yeah, they've got like a whole medicine rack at CVS.
It literally looks like some CVS stuff, doesn't it?
Tells Jeff that he has something infectious, which scares him right away, and then says charm, and they both laugh about it. Patton is totally like, buying into what Jeff wants to be sold to him, and he says, like, Jeff, you look great, everything's great, you seem really healthy, your cholesterol is just a tiny bit high, so you might want to do a little bit, even though your moles are shaped like hearts, get a prescription. It's not a big deal, no big deal. And Jeff immediately freaks out. Yeah. And all of a sudden, a man who probably hasn't really ever is suddenly overcome in a sitcom comedic way with this fear of mortality. Yeah. All of a sudden, he's like, that he can and will eventually die is coming to mind. And this is a topic that I think about way more than I wish I did. So seeing it projected in TV, it's really relatable to me. And I think that's part of why I like this episode and why I like Jeff in this episode. Even if his plight is that he's super healthy and he's starting to get a little bit older, so he needs to watch it a little bit. Yeah. It's slight, and his overreacting is definite. But a lot of this works for me, and it's nice to see Jeff go through this. Nurse Jackie tells him to eat some egg whites, and I love the back and forth when Jeff says, like, well, first, when Jeff's reacting the way he does, Nurse Jackie says, did I accidentally tell you you have AIDS? I've done that before. He must just be telling people that they have AIDS all day for real, so, like, one slips every now and then. Oh,
shoot, wait, not you.
Not you, the next one. I like this back and forth where Jeff says, I treat my body like a temple. How could this happen? And I really like Patton's line here. I think it's his best when he says,
well, I can't be the first person to tell you that the temple doesn't last forever. I mean, it's made of hamburger. This is a temple of doom.
I really like the way that he says all of that. And as Jeff, like, the camera closes in on Jeff as you can see how existential he's getting standing in this room. And I don't know about you, Steven, but I've definitely had moments where I feel like this, where something triggers me into an existential kind of thought, and the person who got me to that point is still talking to me. And I'm just, like, doing my own thing over here.
I'm, like, spiraling downward in my mind.
I'm sure we've probably been through that together.
Oh, I'm sure.
But all Nurse Jackie's talking about while Jeff is getting existential is the Temple of Doom Indiana Jones film and how it's not really that good.
Hey, no.
I think it's really funny.
Yeah.
A great little appearance from Nurse Jackie. Jeff says that he needs to be alone because now, as I've also been in a situation that he's in that existential thing, he needs everyone to know. He needs to like make it clear to everyone what he's going through.
I'm not doing well, so I need to.
And the nurse responds with, "Well, you could leave, and that would get you alone." Joel plays this moment off really well, though, even though it's kind of played for laughs.
Yeah.
I believe what he's thinking. And then Nurse Jackie gets prepared for a full day of giving some pap smears to people.
Yikes.
Just hand sanitizes and gets ready. As Jeff yells, "There is no God," from the outside. Funny scene, funny building up of what the characters are going through in this episode. Now we're in the cafeteria, and Jeff's taking that advice. He has a bunch of hard-boiled eggs, and he's getting rid of the yolks and eating the whites. Are you an egg man?
I like hard-boiled eggs, and I like
hard-boiled eggs. It's not my egg of choice.
Mm-hmm.
What's your egg of choice?
Probably over medium.
Is that what you order when you go to like a egg establishment?
Yeah.
I like mine sunny side up.
I used to be a sunny side up guy.
But I like the over easy, over medium. I think I just really like eggs.
I'm getting back into my love with eggs.
I'm glad that you're able to get back to that.
I had gotten away
nice,
from it for a while. I was
Yeah.
really grossed out by eggs for like a solid I don't know, almost a year. Now I'm back on the train.
As Jeff's doing that, Shirley walks up to him to ask if he got the results from his test back. Of course, as always, Shirley's underserved in this episode, doesn't have a plot of her own. But I think this episode does a good job of showing how she goes from group to group, not really fitting in with them, but kind of pushing herself into everyone's situation.
Yeah, and she tries to help, and she cares.
I wish we saw more from Shirley, but I think this episode did a solid effort to find a way to fit her into this in a better way.
Yeah, and I think they almost bring attention to the point that they kind of aren't putting her in anything, but
yeah,
she's still there.
But that's a small problem with this show, is that as it goes on, they constantly call attention to how they don't do enough with Shirley, and it's never fixed by doing more with Shirley. Yeah. So she asked Jeff if he got the test results back, and Jeff immediately snaps back, "I'm fine." Shirley's like, "Well, I figured you were fine. I was just asking to be nice." We get a really great display of a bag of Let's potato chips, which is a great staple of Community and really just pop culture at large. Shirley tries to talk to him about uplifting things to make him feel a little bit better because he's clearly going through some stuff. And Jeff's just like, "Yeah, whatever, we're all going to die." And we all have these notions. This feels like a Dan Harmon written line.
Yeah, right.
When he says,
"The fact is, everyone's dying. And we all have these little notions that we're the exception, but we're as wrong as we are dead."
Which is a little bit, I feel like that's a little bit true.
It's pretty morbid.
I don't think any of us think that we're not going to die, but I think a lot of us, you know what I mean? There's a definite disconnect.
Yeah, I think, I don't know.
As Steven becomes aware of his mortality.
Well, I think that's the thing, is Jeff very clearly hasn't at least been around enough death that he's thought about his own being a real possibility. Jeff's privilege is showing. Boom,
well,
boom, boom.
Sure. I'm sure that and now my constant anxiety over it isn't because of my lack of privilege. It's just because I'm a little nuts.
Right? Well, and I wasn't saying, I'm saying, but Jeff specifically, he's lived
But I can also imagine on the flip side of that, if you go that long in your life with never even having to think about it, I bet it would be f***ing traumatizing.
Yeah, when you finally
all of a sudden
do.
You start thinking about it. Not to say that limits the flip side of that. But
well, and I definitely know
would.
people who, for most of their lives, never did have to think about that, and then once they did,
they died.
And even though they're in their 20s, they started thinking about it, and then it really freaked them out to the point that they kind of got real paranoid.
And of course, I'll be honest and say that I wasn't thinking about it until probably after high school. But I don't know. So Jeff says that, and Shirley tries to stay positive with that's nice.
That's nice.
Now we cut to Britta and Annie. Something I would like to say about this plot line here, why this works a little bit better for me, even though, man, it's just about as base level of a plot as you can give to your female characters on a show. I think this episode does a decent job with showing the type of footing Britta and Annie would be on after their shared experiences with Jeff without mentioning it or saying that that's why there's some tension between them, and maybe that's not the only thing.
But it's
I think
definitely
it's a
a factor.
reason why they're both working together and why they're butting heads with each other.
Because they're trying to show that there's no problem, but...
Right. Shirley shows up again to be like, hey, how's it going with the thing that you're doing that I wasn't invited for? And Annie has her line that we mentioned earlier. It was
236.
Says, it's great, I made 236, plus Britta's makes almost 250. And Britta her cracks are showing. She's having a lot more trouble hiding what she's thinking.
Yeah.
Greendale cares about this issue, what Annie says, which makes Britta snap. And she says that guys are giving Annie money because she's got this sexy schoolgirl routine, which Annie is like, oh, I don't do that, or oh, I do that.
What?
I have no
What do
idea.
you mean?
I can't speak because we're gross men, but I feel like there is a little bit of a thing where, especially in high school and like early years of college, where there would be girls that would kind of act like this, and then if they were questioned on it, they'd be like, what? I don't do that.
Oh,
Twirls
totally.
hair.
Yeah.
I definitely do that whenever Steven's around.
Well, yeah, vice versa. Why do you think I grew my hair out? It's for you, Zach.
Wow. I like it. It looks nice.
Not that
on
I
you.
like
it
you
suits
or
you well.
anything.
And Annie, but she does rightfully say, that's me. You know, you're just commenting on like parts of me. It's not a facade that I'm doing. It's because of how Britta's kind of insecure about herself that she sees the way Annie is confident that way. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that, you know, Britta has been holding in a lot of feelings on Annie for a long time, and some of those are starting to slip out. And I think that, you know, the flip side kind of happens later on with Annie more so.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I really like the turn of lines when Britta says, like, you act like you don't know all of this when really you know that, like, high school guys or however she says it, that they have, like, a sock named after her.
Yeah.
Which is a pretty edgy line for a network TV
yeah,
show.
it sure is.
But the way Annie takes it as, well, and if people have a sock puppet of me, that's their thing, not mine. So innocent.
Aww.
So naive.
Oh, Annie.
Which is why, and this will make some people mad, she and Jeff shouldn't be together because Jeff would, like, destroy all that.
Absolutely.
Moving on. Shirley's like, I may just be an outsider here because I was
never
never called to participate. But she gives her good advice and says that it looks like Britta's upset because she's making less money than you. And Britta says the only reason Annie's making more money is because she's selling out her gender. And then Shirley starts eating chips. She's like, ooh, now it's getting good. I want to see what's going on here. And they do lines like this sometimes in the show. We get our first turn of this where they go from bitter much to say bitter much to say bitter much. It's a little bit BoJack Horseman.
It is very BoJack. Annie kind of sits up extra straight.
And he's like, I pushed my chest out because I used to wear a back brace. It's not my fault. Shirley's like, that's why. Keeps eating her chips. Now we're back in anthropology class. It's another day, and Pierce has shown up with what appears to be a lava lamp. And I also love this episode a lot because a lot of these things are parallels to the season 5 episode that they did the table read of recently.
Yeah.
When they all have the lie detector and stuff, and they all have they have the lava lamp with Pierce's energy inside of it. And I love that episode, which makes this feel also kind of like a cousin to that episode.
Yeah, totally.
Pierce explains that it's not a lava lamp, it's his mom.
That line made me laugh every single time. I don't know why his delivery was so good. That's not a lava lamp, it's my mom.
And the way Troy reacts, oh snap, like it's a yo mama joke, and then realizes it's not, says, wait, what? Really funny as well. And yeah, honestly, this situation is just so rife with comedic potential. And there are so many jokes and misunderstandings you can make out of all of this, and they milk it really well in this episode. There's so many funny lines. The temple finished vaporizing Pierce's mom and put her in an energon pod, which turns everyone. Her vapor is the bubbles. Jeff makes a joke about how much it would cost, and it makes it seem like the cult makes it appear to be really expensive, so they can drag money out of these people, kind of similar to what we hear of Scientology.
Right. This was a question. It was, where was it harvested? And I guess by
super bees in Buddha's meteor crater. Mm-hmm. This is one of those lines that I'm sure Chevy had no idea what he was saying.
None of those words.
Again, he's delivering his stuff really, really well in this episode. I like Jeff's jokes about, it's the Sky Mall and the Sharper Image Valley. Yeah. And Pierce just doesn't dignify it with the response. He just kind of scoffs at Jeff. And then you were right. Duncan comes in apologizing for having overslept because the sidewalk is more comfortable than it looks.
Gosh.
Chang makes another joke, calling him drunk. And Duncan clearly is in a headspace where he's even less able to deal with the stuff that Chang throws at him.
Yeah.
He says, shut up. So where did we get to yesterday? Which is nowhere, you know. And Duncan even says to Chang, who keeps giving him trouble, that, I've had kind of a hard day, so if you could just, take it easy.
Yeah.
And then he starts walking closer to Chang, which this is such a funny
That was so
idea.
well done there.
The way that they really make it feel like there's a literal force field between them, because Chang is so conscious of the 25 feet, so as soon as Duncan starts walking forward while he's talking, Chang feels the force pushing him. He gets behind the next row of desks. Duncan realizes this power that he has and decides he's going to take advantage of it. One of my favorite line deliveries in the episode is the way that Chang just says, I deserve to be here, sir.
Yeah.
When the only reason he's there in the first place is to give Duncan shit,
Well, he was already in the class before Duncan became the teacher.
Oh, I guess that's true.
Yeah.
I guess that's true.
Yeah.
Wow. I guess you watched the episode this time and I didn't. Maybe I should have just left and not come back.
It's okay. Next week, I'm sure he'll write an email just to you.
Yeah, I'm just doing this as a ploy to get communities to say nice stuff about me.
Don't do it, Dad.
Just tell me I'm pretty. That's all I want. I want to know that you think I'm pretty. So Duncan takes advantage of this, tells Chang he hopes he has good hearing, and pushes him out of the door. I will say, though, and then Duncan immediately turns back around, back to the desk. Chang could have come back inside,
right back in.
But whatever. That's just grasping for straws.
Mm-hmm.
He asks again, where did we get to yesterday? Jeff says they were talking about humanity, talks about death more because he's thinking about it a lot, and now he's actually concerned about Pierce not thinking about death seriously because he's thinking about death seriously. You know what I mean?
Well, is he concerned about it, or does he just want nobody else to be he doesn't want anyone to? It's not
if I feel miserable, everyone else has to feel miserable too. Yeah.
Because before he was super not necessarily even supportive of Pierce, but he wasn't gonna shit on him. But now he's joking about the lava lamp already, and I don't know. I think it's not too bad yet, but I think he does a couple of mean-spirited things.
Duncan says, "True, all life ends in death." And then this is that bit that I really love because he really sells it as if he's got something to take off of this. So he says, which we as a species are cursed with knowing, resulting in, and writes on the chalkboard and says it as he writes it out, something.
Again, this is really not my field.
So Jeff is taking this as an opportunity, as he often does in this classroom, to turn this around to whatever he's dealing with this week and brings up, say, Professor, what would you say is the difference between a religion and a cult? And Duncan, again, just classically, he's like, you know what? That's a good question. What does everyone else think? Because I don't know, and the book is expensive. Jeff becomes a little bit less subtle and says, well, I think a cult would sell you a tube of Jell-O and tell you that your mom's inside of it, which Shirley says Jeffrey. And I think it's nice that now Shirley's coming to vouch for Pierce, because I think Shirley is quick to judge.
Well, she's usually the least tolerant by far.
but she should rightfully understand the coping mechanism and the importance of it to the person, even if you don't agree with it.
Totally.
She should totally get that. And it's nice to see her do that and it not really be called attention to.
Well, and I think she even came to Jeff and said, like, thank you for, like, showing us that we should have just been more accepting in the first place. So clearly what he said to her early on, had an impact.
Duncan starts talking about how, like, are you guys just bringing your personal stuff into this? Because I'm fine with it. I don't have anything else to say. And I like that they fit in a little shot of Chang peering through the window.
Reformed neo-Buddhism.
Yes. It's not a cult. It's a new way of looking at the world, obviously. And I really like the lines here because Troy says, oh, like a video game. And the way Pierce says, he's like, yes, Troy, very much like a video game. Like he was really hoping someone would pick up the bait that he was throwing down. And he goes on to explain you gain levels, and at a certain point you can actually eat a ghost, which Troy is very excited about to the point where he's willing to convert after at least being a pretty openly practicing Jehovah's Witness. If he knows he can eat a ghost following something else, he'll try it.
Well, and also I think kind of as this goes on, and maybe I'm just reading too far into it, but I feel like Troy maybe also wanted this because that would mean that, the death that he saw that was so traumatic for him, like, wasn't real anymore. It was just a pause and not her actually being dead, which I could see Troy in his kind of, not childlike, but his kind of, wide-eyed way that he wants the world to be.
Newer to being on his own and coming to terms with his personal spirituality versus, like, his growing up religion.
If there's an option where people don't have to die, that would be ideal for him.
Yeah, you might be looking a little bit too into it, but I do think that that's a good parallel to draw. I can see that. Jeff jumps on that and says, Troy, don't let him pollute you with this. This is bad. And even Shirley, again, she's killing it. She says, it's okay to ask questions.
Yeah.
Which I think, coming from a religious family and a religious upbringing, I feel like I've definitely strayed away from it, and I have my disdain towards some of it, but I also feel like I have a deeper understanding and respect for some of it than people who are just non-religious have. And so I think it's really something of a role model here that Shirley's being, that people who are religious, you shouldn't just blindly follow what you follow.
Yeah.
It's okay to ask questions. It's okay if stuff doesn't make sense. And it's okay to make sense of it for yourself, whatever that means and whatever that leads you to.
Totally. Yeah.
This message, of course, brought to you by ExpressVPN. Be whatever you want to be. Believe whatever you want to believe. Download whatever you want to download. ExpressVPN.
ExpressVPN. Does your country not like the religion that you want to follow? Go ahead and just tell the internet you're somewhere else.
If the answer is America and you're not a Christian, probably. All right. Abed has a question, and it's about the logistics of this. He says, what happens, or what does he say before the?
He says people go from solid to vapor. But
if people go from solid to vapor, can they ever become liquid? Which brings Pierce, who is a big Neon Genesis fan, to say that, well, actually, eventually, the Buddha will come back, and we'll all take liquid form, causing this ocean of knowledge that tastes like Hawaiian punch, according to the scripture.
Fun.
And you
Robin
can
Williams.
hear someone in the background say, "I like Hawaiian punch." What?
Fun Robin Williams connection. Have you ever seen the movie, was it 1 Hour Photo, 3 Hour Photo?
No, but someone lent it to me once, and I thought it looked deeply interesting, and I never got around to watching it.
Well, in it, brief, thing if anybody doesn't know, Robin Williams plays a guy who works at, like, a photo center at, like, a Walmart-esque store, and he becomes obsessed with this,
one
like,
of his
mother.
regular customers.
Yeah. And
That's
at one
cool.
point, he, like, hands a toy to a kid, and he's like, here, this is from Neon Genesis Evangelion. And so the rumor,
really?
He calls it Evangelion even though it's Evangelion. But the rumor in the nerd community for the longest time was that it was Robin Williams' idea to do that. Then they asked the director, and the director was like, we just had a toy laying around. Sorry.
Dang.
And so, like,
it's like Robin Williams loves anime.
And Robin Williams
well,
is like, I don't know what that
Robin
is.
Williams' daughter, Zelda, is very much into stuff like that, I believe.
And that's what he said, is that his daughter knew what it was.
And that maybe she could have gotten it from him. I can see where people would draw that, but I don't think in that day Robin Williams was into a lot of stuff other than cocaine.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. Miss the man. I wish he was still around making us laugh.
Me too.
You know, before he died, there was going to be a Mrs. Doubtfire 2.
Really? That would have been funny.
Yes, like soon.
That would have actually been
After.
funny, I think.
Yeah. Pierce brings up, if anyone's curious, my church is having an open hive, and if anyone wants to come, there's free wine, beer, and free credit checks, which is also
of
very
course,
funny.
free credit.
So then they know who they want to get in and who they don't.
Exactly.
And I really like that Duncan is the one who's like, oh, how much wine and beer are you allowed to get? And as that happens, as everyone's arguing over that, Jeff's like, oh, come on, another joke that, as I mentioned, I really love. A very attractive woman walks in and says, excuse me, is this anesthesiology? Duncan takes a second and says, yes, it is, and tells the whole class, just go with it. And I like that we don't see it, but I like that we get implied that he gives an entire class on anesthesiology, not knowing anything about it, and that this girl had to have just been in this class for no reason because she's just, that she just goes along with whatever he's saying, and the rest of the class does too. So now we're back to the cafeteria. Annie and Britta are back to taking donations. Apparently, I haven't been able to see it yet. I read online that on the oil canister or something on this diorama has a sticker that says Wild Oil, which is a reference to the short-lived series Running Wild that starred Will Arnett as like a rich playboy who got all the money from his father's company, Wild Oil.
Yeah.
And this show was worked on and an executive produced by the Russo brothers. So a little bit of synergy there. It was also created by Mitch Hurwitz. It was created by the creator of Arrested Development.
Oh, shoot.
I don't think it was that good. It certainly didn't last that long. But that's a cool little Easter egg. I haven't been able to see it. I wonder if maybe there's a chance for like DVD releases or something that it was edited out because of like copyrighted material from the show, or I don't know. Or maybe I just haven't been able to see it.
Yeah.
So now we're back. They're looking for more donations, and Britta shows up in a way that she's going to start acting really cutesy like Annie to try to show Annie that what she's doing is a thing and that she can do it too. And I said this to Lilia while I was watching it, and I was like, man, this Britta acting fake cutesy thing, it's just my body is so confused. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because she's got the typical Annie, like the pencil skirt and the sweater.
She's faking it, but it's still all working.
Yeah, because it's still, Gillian Jacobs being adorable.
Yeah. She like bends over in her skirt and immediately gets the notice of the guy who Annie's talking to. And the way she says her lines here, when she like talks like a literal baby, which is not my thing. I wasn't trying to say I'm into this kind of thing. It makes me uncomfortable. I don't believe that for a second, Steven.
I'm not into the baby talk. I don't do that.
You're more into the mom.
Exactly.
Another thing, shout out to Mira who did the video review of us and literally mentioning Steven's mommy issues. She listed all kinds of stuff from the show, but it's nice to know that one of the top 5-10 things that people take away from this program is Steven's mommy kink.
Yeah,
We know. We do know. We all, not the entire internet, but a very specific corner of the internet knows now.
What can you say?
But Britta says, to save the pelicans, they're all feathery and pelican-y. I love them. And the guy's like, okay, whatever. All right. I don't care. Take my money. Clearly, this was the world before OnlyFans.
Right. By the way, it's not too late. Special holiday sale.
While you're purchasing ExpressVPN, you're going to want to turn it on as you head over to OnlyFans / you can't dis a penis.
Stay tuned after for You Can't Dis a Peen Cast, where we break down everything from this week's episode of You Can't Dis a Penis.
The sultry after show that you won't believe. It was too hot for Podbean. Okay. So they thank the man, he walks away, and Britta is kind of being rude and says, wow, it really is easy to raise money when you sell out your gender, which of course offends Annie because she is so earnest in what she's doing. Even if she is doing what Britta says she's doing, she's being so earnest and she's just trying to do the right thing. Annie takes that and starts mimicking Britta and just walks up to someone and says, hey, jerk, you're stupid. Give me money. I know more than you. And I love this part where they just start going back and forth, like saying things as each other to make fun of each other. It's kind of a comedic trope that sitcoms do a lot, but they pull it off well here. Britta, I don't need anything. I need boys. Saving the planet makes my back hurt. Britta doesn't need guys for anything, so she wears stripper boots and only eats celery and mustard for lunch. And that was the thing that they talked funny about in the commentary, too. This episode was written by a woman, and that line is definitely something that she said came from not experience, but people that she knew that were like that, and how they'd be like, oh, no, that's all I want. I'm really full. It's so good. It's so filling. And I keep wanting to call them by their characters. Donald Glover said he knew someone who only ate baby food.
Stop.
And the way he said it was funny, but he was like, she would be like, oh, no, it's really good. This is really good. And Donald would be like, no, that's horrible. Please don't do that.
Like, that's baby food.
He said, it's for babies. It's in the title. So yeah, only eating celery and mustard for lunch. I never stop smiling. I never start. My sweaters keep shrinking. And Shirley is just loving every second of it. I think Shirley is a little bit glad that she doesn't get invited to stuff because she gets to go back and forth and judge what everyone else is doing.
She just gets to watch must-see TV.
Annie rightfully calls out that Britta has this aura of not caring about what everybody thinks when she clearly makes choices in her appearance and demeanor based on what other people think of her.
Yeah, that one hit Britta hard.
It starts as a joke, but then it gets to the point where it's not funny anymore, and their feelings are both hurt. And now neither of them are making no money. And then cue Shirley's classic line, yeah, you're both so different, skinny bitches.
Skinny bitches.
Another scene that I like quite a bit just because it gives us a little bit more John Oliver while the two of them, John Oliver as Duncan walks up to Jeff and they chat over lunch while Jeff is still really worried about his health for no good reason. Jeff says, you pulled 40 minutes of anesthesiology out of your ass. It's like, yeah, I did. But Duncan's here to talk about Pierce, and while they're talking about this is in the background. We see that the pregnant woman, her water is broken. She's beginning to go into labor, and both Abed and her boyfriend are there by her side. They have at this point decided that they at least need to work together to help her.
Yeah, I sure didn't.
That's what's going on in that story at the point. And meanwhile, Jeff is talking about all of the things that he's always done to try to be healthy, like how many times he hasn't eaten a donut or dabbing his pizza with napkins. He's suffered. And honestly, like, yeah, this is a lot of first world problems, but
he has
do feel for Jeff a little bit that the type of lifestyle that he's lived has limited him so much to where he's unhealthily being healthy, you know? And I don't know, he's realizing now too late that he could have given a little less of a care every now and then, you know, because everyone does, and everyone's headed the same place no matter how healthy you are.
Yeah, totally.
Jeff mentions that that Duncan slurps down figgy pudding all day, but that Jeff might die before him. And now he has to take daily medicine, which I think is a big step. Yeah. Jeff could eat powdered bran every day, which... why would anyone do that?
No good reason. Well, the thing is, I think it brings up, especially in men, a big stigma about taking medicine anyway, where it's like, oh, this means I'm weak. Like, no, medicine just kind of is supposed to make it so that you know, it's just supposed to even everything out, make it good. So, I mean, this doesn't mean that Jeff's going to die. The medicine is going to keep him from dying. But... you know, to him it means...
but there's a stigma. It means that you needing something means that you're lesser than.
Yeah.
And I don't really want to delve deep into this, but I'll be happy to say that this week I started taking, like, antidepressant for the first time. Nice. And I've always kind of had that stigma about it, too, that it's something I should deal with on my own, and sometimes you can, but really you can't. And it's okay to say that you can't, and it's okay to try something.
Absolutely.
I don't know if it's going to work for me. It might work great.
Yeah.
But I think it's good to try, and... more people do it than you think, so there's nothing to feel weird about.
100%.
I have all kinds of other stuff to feel weird about that definitely isn't common. I like that in this scene, Duncan is kind of the voice of reason.
Right?
That he gets to tell Jeff that he's being childish, but then he gets distracted because he has to use his force field against Chang to keep him from getting food. He stands in the middle of the cafeteria, and Chang's like, come on. And he doesn't really expect him to be that childish, so he walks around the perimeter of the room to get to the lunch line, but Duncan's not letting it happen. Not cool, Duncan. Obviously, it's Chang, and he deserves some of what he's getting, but he's not doing anything
No,
really
he's just
now.
trying to get
He's
food.
trying to eat his lunch, but Duncan takes it so literally when he stretches his hand out and starts charging towards him. And the face on John Oliver's face, the look on his face, he just is. It's just comedic perfection.
It's so good.
It's so great. It's so ridiculous. It's so Community. I really, really like a lot of things in this episode. A lot.
Yeah.
So Chang runs out of the room backwards. Kim Jong does a great physical comedy acting here when he falls behind the couch, does a cartwheel, gets back up, runs directly into the vending machine, falls on the floor, and Duncan's just pleased as punch of his power. And then sits back down to continue his conversation with Jeff right where it left off. He goes back to being the voice of reason.
Immediately back.
That you claim to have no religion, but you're actively devoutly worshiping yourself, which he totally is. And I think a lot of people do. A lot of people take that kind of thing. Like, it's good to take yourself seriously and your health seriously. A lot of us should do it more. But
don't think of yourself
with
as like
everything, there's a limit.
Yeah.
With everything, there's a healthy limit. And clearly, Jeff has moved past that.
Absolutely.
Whatever Duncan says gets Jeff to realize something, but I think it's realizing the wrong thing.
Yeah.
This is when he's going to make the plan to show Pierce that his mom is really dead.
Which I think is really shitty of him to do.
Well, yeah, Jeff says, you know what, I just realized that I was only doing this to, like, kill Pierce's faith. And Duncan's like, great, what do you think about that? It's like, oh, well, now that I know that that's what I'm trying to do, I can really do it. I can roll up my sleeves and get it done. That's pretty shitty. Have we gotten the thing already that you said that Jeff said that really bothered you?
No.
Okay. Definitely point it out when you get it.
I
like
will.
that
We're
this
getting
scene
closer.
is calling a little bit of attention to the fact that Duncan is a psychiatrist or a therapist, and we don't talk about that really, but here he is kind of therapizing Jeff a little bit.
Normally the only person he talks to is Britta, and he's trying to sleep with her, so...
So yeah, Jeff takes this totally the wrong way, but Duncan's like, yep, go ahead. And then he's like, wait, never mind. Actually, I don't care. Then he starts to eat his food. That's a really good moment too. Things are starting to come to a head. We're back outside with Britta and Annie trying to raise some money. Pierce is in his traditional Buddhist robe.
Which great job by the costume department, because that's absolutely
futuristic
freaking
look
ridiculous.
With his inner John Pod. I bet someone was like, F you, Chevy.
Yeah, they're going to make Chevy wear this turquoise dress.
And everything's coming to a head. They're on their way to Pierce's Buddhist Open Hive. But before, Jeff has agreed to take them all to ice cream, but not really. More on that later. Meanwhile, Britta and Annie are still trying to get money donated for their cause, but their conflict with each other is keeping them from getting the good work done.
Yeah.
And basically everyone's just on the wrong page right now, except for Troy. Troy is just excited about ice cream. Pierce said there's a 69th flavor that he needs to try. I am excited.
I am excited.
So Jeff says, all right, let's go. My car's over there. And they get ready to go. Meanwhile, Jeff tells the girls what's really happening. He's not taking them for ice cream. He has gotten a hold of the county morgue where he's confirmed that Pierce's mother will be there, dead, unvaporized. He can prove that Pierce is lying for all to see. Surprise. Welcome to reality. Welcome to death. It's not good, and it's clearly the wrong thing to do, but this is coming out of his crisis of mortality, and I think that's all it is. I think he's acting... Is this the thing?
He's about to say the thing.
I just think this is acting out of crisis and acting recklessly out of crisis. And I think especially when death is brought up and someone has died and people are reacting to it, I think stuff like this kind of happens sometimes. I don't know. Of course, it's sitcom-y and it's awful to take your friend to see their mother's corpse.
Yeah, but I think it's pretty terrible.
And especially with Pierce being so invested in his religion that he, even if he sees it, he's gonna find a way to explain it.
And he's taking Troy to see it again. Like,
sure, yeah. Well, because
Troy
Troy
already
just wants
found
to
the
go
body
to
in
the
the
Open
first
Hive.
place. Yeah.
Basically, the girls aren't that interested. They say, have fun, good luck. And I know exactly what it is now. Jess says, wow, you guys are real downers. I can't believe I made out with both of you. Ugh.
What a dick.
Jeff, you have no idea how lucky you are. You know what I mean?
You scum. You slime. You
know how many community podcasters would die for that privilege?
Oh.
They go to check the money. There isn't much. Annie's trying really hard to be as non-sexual as possible. Britta, they're just being so condescending to each other.
Yeah. The dialogue here is pretty good, though.
Yeah, they do quip at each other really well, and it's really, really nice. I know that you've been commenting on it always, but Annie, when she lets go and stands up for herself or gets frustrated, is a total different person, and Allison does it so well, like the flip between cute, oh, everything's great, Annie, to like, I'll f you up, Annie. Like,
yeah,
I'll
for real.
Burst through a sliding glass window on drugs again, Annie.
I won't hesitate, bitch.
They're fighting over it, and it causes the oil to spill. Something that's probably both a not very tasteful joke when we're talking about a real oil spill that has actually happened, and also a bit of an inevitability when you put the two most attractive girls on the cast around a bucket of oil for 20 minutes. It's gonna happen.
Yep, it's gonna happen.
And I like the way that, like, it's so ridiculous that this turns into like an oil fight, but they do about the best that they can to make it happen. I feel like it definitely went with like, oh, well, we've got to have them throw oil all over each other. And then they're like, how can we do that in the way that almost passes the Bechdel test? It definitely doesn't. And we're definitely, I'm not going to speak to that because we're definitely not people who should have any say on whether something does or not. I just think that it is as gratuitous as it is. But I think it could have been a lot worse. And
it could have been worse, and a lot of
any
other show
would have done it a lot worse. Yeah.
Yeah, they kept their clothes on.
They start screaming. Yeah, I know. Another show would have had them take off their clothes and would have had them on the ground. Yeah. This show, yeah, they keep their clothes on. They don't really touch each other that much. It's like a food fight with with oil. And all of the like sexiness of it is kind of your own fault. You know what I mean? It's kind of just like that's, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
it is what you make of it.
Yeah.
America.
Yeah.
And the rest of the world.
I guess they do end up on the ground. I guess they do end up on the ground.
Now this is why I came to America.
This is why I came to America. He delivers that line phenomenally too. Now we're in Jeff's Lexus, which has made its reappearance after being smashed up by Chang. They're all driving. I really like this scene, this segment of it. Honestly, the rest, I really like this episode. There are just a couple of really small things. I really like this. Pierce brought the jam book from the Pierce Mobile to play some music, and the newest thing he's got is getting logins. Pretty funny. Jeff is really on edge, you can tell. Troy's just along for the ride. I also like this pairing of characters, that it's the three of them.
I do too. I feel like the three of them aren't normally together because Troy isn't usually in a group with Jeff without Abed.
Right. Pierce discovers in his CD book that there is a CD left with his name on it in his mom's handwriting. So it's put together, and they all comment on that Pierce's mother in her last dying moments recorded and made the CD for Pierce. And I think that stretch is a little bit too sitcom-y and hammy. But as soon as the tape starts playing, honestly, it's the most emotionally resonant this show has been for me yet, I think.
Really?
I think so, and I'm not sure exactly why, because it is ridiculous. So she puts the CD in. Pierce puts the CD in. Troy talks about how gangster it is that Pierce's mom spent the last moments of her life creating a CD, and the speech begins. It starts with the classic whenever something like this happens, where it's like, if you found this, it means I'm dead. That kind of thing is a little bit of a stretch whenever they do something like that. I don't buy that this would have happened, but when the speech and what she has to say actually happens, it stands a lot. She says to Pierce, and I get that this woman, while she's in her dying breaths and knows that there's and it seems like she was a part of this religion as well, or at least indulged Pierce, she's coming to terms with her mortality for real. And so she's made this message to Pierce to do the same. She says she's not been vaporized, she's gone forever, and that's how she likes it. This is what made me a little bit emotional, and the way that it resonates with Jeff, the way that she says that life is only worth anything because it is fleeting. It's all of the stuff that she says. I'm not just going to say it. I think it's good. I think it's good to remember sometimes that life is fleeting. It could end at any time, and sometimes it feels mundane and boring and drawn out and long, but there's so much we can be doing that I feel like we're not doing, or I feel like I'm not doing. And life is meant to be, as she lists, consumed and used and spent and lived and felt. And those words really rang true to me. And it didn't make me tear up, but it did resonate with me emotionally. I could feel it.
Yeah.
And I like how they even tie it with the oil spill fight. That look at these people fighting and these people cheering and throwing money at it. These are people who are consuming their life. They're spending it. They're living it. They're feeling it. While Jeff is spending his life taking away someone else's, kind of.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
We get a really great shot of Shirley reacting to what's going on as we see Abed and the boyfriend helping deliver the baby. Except Abed's really the one who's getting in there and doing the work.
Oh, and there's a baby.
And even in the speech, they use the word miracle as they're showing the delivering of the baby. I think that's a cool synchronicity. And she says, and then we're supposed to let go. And I can't force you to do that for yourself, Pierce, but you can't force her to stay.
I like that a lot. I really like that part.
And, of course, because it's Community, it ends with a joke that if you unscrew the top of the stupid thing, it'll say Made in China. I like what all this is doing. I like the look in Pierce's face that makes it seem like he's absorbing what he's being told. And I think my favorite thing about this is how this resolves not just Jeff's drive to ruin things for Pierce, but resolves the crisis that he's having of his own mortality without putting a too neat of a bow on it. They don't say it. Jeff never says, you know what, I learned something today. You know, you see it in his face, and that's all you need. And I love it when shows are able to show me something without telling me.
Well, and I like that, you know, this message was for Pierce. You know, she left it with Pierce in mind, but Jeff's the one who really
was who needed to hear it.
Yeah, which is good.
You're right. Pierce gets to hear his mom say she loves him one more time, which should mean the world to someone who's lost a parent. She says goodbye, and I'll play myself out, and then plays a killer rap track that has some of the same vibes as I'm Senor Chang, and I can't be killed. Apparently, they wanted it to play Highway to the Danger Zone, but I think that would have been too expensive of a joke.
Damn. What a great song.
Pierce turns it off and says, well, that proves one thing. She was really losing it towards the end, and he throws the last thing he'll ever get from his mother out the window. Classic Pierce.
One really good, like, Chevy Chase acting thing, like, I like how he kind of, like, bends, almost like you, like, kind of break it, throw it out, but he almost, like, doesn't want to, because, like, it's still, like, his mom made that for him, you know?
He's, like so unable to let go of this belief system he's created for himself.
Yeah.
And at the same time, he's so, there is a little bit of fight there. But
right? Like, I don't know if that was just Chevy Chase just being weird and touching the CD. But... Yeah.
Troy says, you seriously think she's still in there? And Pierce says, well, why wouldn't I? And Jeff is able to see that Pierce needs this. He's this broken, sad old man. And him believing that as long as this cult doesn't help him kill himself or kill anyone else or anything, letting him believe that there is a chance that his mother, who he loves, will return to him one day, what's the harm in that? And you can see in Jeff's face, again, without saying that he sees that. And I think maybe in a way he wishes he had something like that too.
Yeah.
And Troy says no reason, and they all let it go. And Jeff decides, let's go get some ice cream. And they do. And it's nice. It's a really,
nice.
really nice way to resolve this situation that has some of the sitcom tropes, but not too many. And it feels original. It's very Community, and it's sweet and thoughtful in a way that the show dabbles in sometimes, but I think this is one of the strongest examples of it so far.
Certainly.
So Jeff turns around to take him to an ice cream place. He lets slip that where they were going to go is kind of depressing, and he doesn't want that anymore. Now we're back to outside. They're cleaning up the mess, and Annie's really like bossing them around as they're cleaning up the mess that they created, which is a little weird. And they apologize to each other. This is good too, if not a little bit more cliche. They owe each other an apology. They were doing what everyone thought they were doing, and even Annie says that she only kissed Jeff because she wanted to seem cool and sexy, like how she sees Britta. And Britta says, well, all of this is just happening because, well, she slept with Jeff because she hates herself. And she got after you for raising money because of that. And she's gross, and they're both gross. And this might fail the Bechdel test, but the line that does resonate here is when she says the reason that they raise all that money is because men are gross and because they'll buy into stuff like that. And when they forget that, men are just kind of bad and gross and let them get at each other instead of sticking together, that's gross. And I really like that that's the point that they land on a lot, actually.
Same.
Now, Pierce, Jeff, and Troy, there's a really funny shot as Annie and Britta hug each other where I don't like the Pierce is like, all right.
Oh, yeah.
And Troy says, do it.
Do it.
a little qualm with this. Weren't they going to Pierce's Open Hive after they got ice cream?
Yes, they were.
Instead, they returned to campus.
Yeah.
I feel like in that moment, Jeff would have still gone with Pierce and like respected his thing.
Yeah.
I feel like
Troy
they
wanted to go.
Forgot, or they just wanted to get everyone together at the end of the episode.
Yeah.
They're all eating ice cream. The ice cream looks good. Everything is really coming together at the end of this episode. Shirley's not there, but when is she ever? Jeff says nobody lives forever, and then no offense to Pierce, and Pierce is kind of like, well, you're the crazy one. Think whatever crazy stuff you want. It's a free country. Oh, and then, of course, Shirley shows up and says, no, this is separate. We see the happy couple in the background. It is the boyfriend's baby, and they're together with the child. And Shirley questions Abed to say, what have you been up to? And Abed says, not much. And it's funny because neither was Shirley, and Shirley didn't get to do anything in the background.
Yeah.
So it's funny that Shirley is the one that calls attention to it. And we even get a nice little cap off of the story with Duncan and Chang, where, like, this one-upping that they've been doing is fun for both of them. And also, and it's also limiting both of them. So now they have restraining orders against each other, but they're close to each other for a moment, and they don't try to make this sweet or anything, but you can tell that both of these deranged people are just kind of having fun.
Yeah, and they appreciate having the other one to kind of, they're nemesis.
They make for a good foil. Yeah. Duncan tells him, well played, and Chang says that means a lot. But we know that weird stuff means a lot to Chang.
Yeah.
And then Duncan says, will you take a quick photo of me with the oily co-eds? And this is one of those things that I'm sure John Oliver would have done something different every time they took the picture. He goes, what? You know he did something different every time. And then it's the front page of the newspaper. And that's the end of the episode. Except for this end tag, which, as much as I love Betty White, totally unnecessary.
Yeah, it wasn't the funniest. Now, I appreciate that Betty White's in it. Now, Hulu messed up because this was actually like the thumbnail for episode 2.
Last week's episode?
Yeah.
I also, so every week when we put out the podcast, I look through Google Images for a photo from the episode to use a couple of different photos to use throughout the week. And this showed up for me as well, too.
And I was really confused because I expected this to be the end tag last week. And I was like, oh, wait.
And I also kind of, when I saw it, was like, I don't think Betty White's in it past that one episode. I'm sure they filmed this when they filmed that first episode. And from the way they talked about this in the commentary, I think this might have been the second episode filmed. But, yeah, it is a little weird. And this end tag does feel a little weird. We talked about her in this episode and how she got suspended, so it makes sense a little bit. And it's kind of nice to see continuity in the show where the characters still exist within the universe of the show.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not that funny. The jokes are basically she's in Africa or
they're talking about Inception.
I probably shouldn't
well,
say
you
they're in
don't get it
Africa.
because you don't get Inception.
Well, I was just going to
Zach.
call myself out because I probably shouldn't call out. I probably
That
shouldn't
there's
assume
in Africa.
I shouldn't assume that they're in Africa just
Well,
because.
it says they're in Congo.
Oh, does it? Well, then maybe
Yeah.
I should. So they're Betty White's talking English to a man who is speaking a language that I don't know what language they're speaking, and they're talking about Inception. Not a lot to this. The guy says he doesn't get it, but when he says he doesn't get it, he doesn't get why Betty White's talking in English and he's talking in a foreign language, but it's because of the person sitting next to him who also apparently speaks this language hasn't seen Inception. And that's the joke. The end.
Is it all a dream?
Probably not.
Well, watch the movie, and then you'll be like, oh, is it a dream? And then you'll watch it again and be like, I don't care.
This is true. I haven't seen Inception, and I really should. All of the time I'm finding out from watching Community that there's so many movies that they reference that I should see, and so many films that just as someone as a film lover that I haven't seen, and I should see them. But instead I'm
What's
watching
wrong with you?
an episode of Community 3 times and talking about it for 2.5 hours in a day. But that's the end of this week's episode. I think this is a really strong showing, kind of how Accounting for Lawyers was a more like low-key outing that's important for the characters. I think this is a low-key outing that's important for the characters that I enjoy quite a bit more. I
like this one more than last week's.
One of my favorite, if not my favorite, non-homage episode yet.
Wow.
Maybe. I don't know. Physical education is really good, and beginner pottery and interpretive
This is
dance,
below
but
physical education and pottery for me.
I get that, but this is
Yeah.
right in with those. I'll have to really take a look at it and see where it lands. But what we can take a look at right now is who our MVPs were this week. I'll open it up and proudly, I feel like I've been waiting for him to earn it. I think I've only given it to him once. Pierce Hawthorne.
Nice.
It's
I
a great
totally see
Pierce
that.
episode, and most of Pierce's best stuff is in season 2. I think it won't be the only time I'm giving it to him this season. I don't think Chevy Chase is a great guy. Sometimes it makes me not want to reward, even though this is just a stupid podcast where we give MVP awards that don't mean shit to Chevy Chase. But he's so funny in this episode, and not only is the character written well and ridiculously, Chevy performs it well and ridiculously, so I am going to reward him this week. Just stop being racist, Chevy, please.
Yeah, if only.
What about you, Steve?
Chevy would probably be my runner-up, at least top 3 for me this episode. I think he does a great job, and I think that this is one of his finest performances in an episode. I did not give my MVP to him, though. Okay. I am happy to give my MVP, and I'm sure I haven't given one to him before. Professor Ian Duncan gets my MVP
I thought about him
week.
as well.
I think that he just was so funny. He was the voice of reason to Jeff. He tried to...
But so much not in every way.
He sure tried to be, and Jeff just really ran with it a different direction. But he stepped into a subject he knows nothing about to teach, you know. But I thought he did great this week. I loved all his stuff with Chang, so he gets my MVP this week.
I really vibe with that take. I think it's a solid choice, and I definitely thought about choosing him as well. Let's wrap things up here, talk a little bit about the near future. Next week, we're going to do another bonus episode. We're going to be doing a Christmas episode. We're going to get some holiday stuff going on with each other. There might be some mistletoe. There might be a couple presents under the tree.
Ooh.
And there's definitely going to be a lot of eggnog all around both of our bodies. We're going to reenact the oil spill fight scene with some chunky eggnog. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. I hope you join us. I'm really looking forward to it. The week after, we'll be talking about basic rocket science. If you haven't sent in your trivia yet, it's too late. Get out of here. Get ahead of the curve and send us your trivia for Messianic Myths and Ancient Peoples, the following episode, which will be our first episode of the new year. And we'll also probably have a special guest and a special take on that type of episode. That's something that we're excited about that I think you guys will like too.
Yeah, so make sure you send in your trivia for that, as well as your favorite moments and your MVPs.
Two,
you can't disappoint at gmail.com. Can't disappoint podcast at gmail.com.
Very good. You can also find us all over the place on Facebook, Instagram at Can't Disappoint Podcast, and Twitter at You Can't Disappoint. Always having fun over there. Something that we're starting to talk about a little bit is that you guys might be getting a little bit more of Zach and Steven every week coming up pretty soon in the new year. We're looking at doing something live with you guys every week, so stay tuned for that. I think that'll be a lot of fun as well. And that's about all to report for now until we see you guys next week. Steven, do you have any final words for this week's episode?
No.
All right. Well, from inside the Dreamatorium, Black Lives Matter, I'm Zach.
I'm Steven.
And I can't wait so we all get to share our knowledge as a one ocean entity in the near future when Buddha returns. I'm going to go ahead and we're going to close this show out with a song by our good friend Ben Watson. Unless he tells me I can't do it, I'm going to put his song. It is called The Golden State right here. And if not, if he said no, because he's a shitty friend.
If he says no, Zach will be playing the song from End of Evangelion that plays when the whole world turns into primordial soup.
I'm not going to find that.
It's called Kom Susurtad.
Okay, if we're...
Come Sweet Death.
If it doesn't play through, get ready for the sounds of Couscous Todd. And thank you once again for listening. It's been great. We will see you guys next week.
The pressure's on you, Ben.
Bye.
Bye.
Every day we live not knowing what the future holds or how it's gonna end. Paranoia won't relent. Put me on the stand, my thoughts held under scrutiny, but most won't comprehend, at least not to its full extent. Nothing in this fading world can ever be prolonged. You wish you would have listened to the voice you said was wrong. How's it feel to know everything is crumbling down around you and everybody's dying? No matter what you do, there's no escaping the tragic truth that things will never be the same. The writing on the mountain falls, and so begins the end of the Golden State. Shaking under pressure while they're all walking mindlessly, not knowing when or why, living in respite. Tectonic tendency is scattered and uncertain, but I know the day will come, and I know it won't be long when metals crack and stones begin to move beneath your feet. You wish you would have listened when I tried to intercede. How's it feel to know everything is crumbling down around you and everybody's dying? No stand.